Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk on a Victory Monday afternoon. It might be a holiday federally, but we're still putting in the hard work for you for 3 hours here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, following another Chiefs playoff victory and a 7th consecutive trip to the AFC Championship game. The Arrowhead Invitational marks its 6th year of competition this coming Sunday night. So glad you're with us on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online worldwide at 580WIBW.com, and of course on our live video stream. You can watch us on our YouTube channel. 580 Sports Talk is the name of the channel. You can also catch us on Facebook at WIBW News. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis. Gang's all here for the next 3 hours on this Victory Monday. The Chiefs are going back to the AFC Championship game. If your quarterback is Patrick Mahomes, you always play in the conference championship game. That is somehow 7 years into Mahomes' career, still a true sentence. The Chiefs will play the Bills for the right to advance to the Super Bowl this coming Sunday night. And, of course, we'll have plenty more to say about that matchup as we go along this week on the program. But on this Monday, this Victory Monday, we'll take a look back at how the Chiefs dispatched the Texans 23-14 on Saturday afternoon at Arrowhead. A day that was a triumph of two different things. Number one is complimentary football, and number two is not screwing up. And if we learned anything, if there was a broad theme from Divisional Playoff weekend, it is sometimes the best thing you can do is get out of the way while the other guy trips over his own 2 feet. Sometimes there is value in being the team that doesn't leave 7 points on the field on special teams. There is value in being the team that does not turn the ball over 5 times. There is value in being the team that does not drop the crucial 2-point conversion pass or fumble twice in the second half. The power of not screwing up is a power that the Chiefs have harnessed over and over again. It's why they are where they are once again, the AFC Championship game.
Jimmy Johnson's got an old quote about
the football one or the driver?
The football one.
Okay.
Yes, I couldn't tell you any Jimmy Johnson the driver quotes other than shop at Lowe's.
I would like to thank Lowe's.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm glad I won another trophy. No, Jimmy Johnson Football Edition has a quote about how it's not who makes the biggest plays in the playoffs, it's about who makes the fewest mistakes. And I invite you to go look at every single playoff game this weekend. Every single one. What is the one common denominator between all of those teams? I would argue that in 3 of the 4 games, probably 3 of the 4, that the better quarterback won. But in all 4 of them, the team that made the fewest mistakes ended up winning the game.
The team that gained the most yards this weekend went 0-4.
Yeah.
Every team that outgained their opponent lost on Saturday.
Doesn't matter if you're great between the 20s.
Yeah. How do you end up doing that? Turn it over a bunch.
Yep.
Leave points on the field, miss kicks, turn the ball over, eat sacks in the red zone, all those kinds of things. That's how you get beat. And it's not pretty to say that the best thing the Chiefs do right now is make fewer mistakes than their opponent. It's not particularly pleasant, but as Andy Reid has said, winning is the important part.
Let's also make sure this is clear too, and this will come up. We'll look at all the games for the weekend a little bit throughout the course of the show. But mistakes in the playoff, that does not just mean the physical mistakes. That does not just mean C.J. Stroud eating 8 sacks. That does not just mean Lamar Jackson overthrowing his intended target by 15 yards and getting picked off. It's mental mistakes as well. I'll point to a different game and then bring it back to the Chiefs. The Lions in their game just run the ball with Jahmyr Gibbs. They probably win if they just don't play David Montgomery. And they just run, because the Commanders, and Spencer, congratulations on the big win, by the way.
Thank you.
They probably don't win if the Lions ran the ball with Jahmyr Gibbs 3 of every 4 plays, because they could not stop him. David Montgomery, back from why are you running him? Why are you running trick plays down 10 in the 4th? Like, just
Why
totally overthinking themselves.
A wide receiver throw a football.
Yeah, your dumbest player on your roster, Jameson Williams, throwing a pass in the 4th quarter. It's very stupid. Mental mistake. Chiefs game. The Texans lost the game before kickoff. And you know how I know? Will Anderson. Will Anderson proved it, as did about 15 of his teammates. Well, when you play these guys, you're going up against the refs too. Okay, so you lost. If that is your answer when your kicker missed 3 kicks and when your Mr. Superstar, next great thing, C.J. Stroud ate 8 sacks like they were protein bars at the gym. And, we knew we had to play the refs too. You're all losers.
Yes.
I like C.J. Stroud. I like Will Anderson. Loser. I like D'Amico Ryan.
Yeah.
Loser.
Going out sad. Has anybody ever come off well complaining that much?
Chase look humble.
Complaining that much about the officials after game? Does anybody come off well doing that?
No.
Has anybody ever in the history of sports come off better or come off well or come off impressively doing that much complaining about the officiating?
No, not one bit. So that's like the mental side of the mistakes you make and why those kill you in play. If you're not in the right headspace for it, you're cooked. The Bills, on the flip side, the Chiefs, obviously, that goes without saying at this point. Like, I thought the Bills' game plan, honestly, we're just not going to make mistakes. Like, we're just going to be careful.
That's their whole thing now.
Against Baltimore, you can get away with that more than you can against Kansas City next week. We'll get to that later. But it worked. It was fine. Josh Allen didn't turn the ball over. And
he wanted to toss it backwards.
And he did. Romo pointed that out. He's like, Josh Allen wanted to kick the ball back. No, Josh, don't. And he did. Old Josh Allen would have done that.
Yes.
That's the difference. And the Chiefs are better than anybody at making sure they do not make that error.
They were outgained. They gave up a 10-minute touchdown drive. They continue to not put up eye-popping offensive numbers. This is not the pretty, electrifying Chiefs team of the late 2010s and early 2020s. But again, Andy Reid said it earlier this year in the locker room. I think it was after the Raider game. Winning is the important part. And the Chiefs do the important part better than anybody else. And there's only one team they haven't been able to do the important part against with their varsity this year, and that's the team coming to Arrowhead for the AFC Championship game. Lots more to say, of course, about Chiefs-Texans, about the divisional playoff round. We will talk about the value of not screwing up. Matt Verderame is going to join us to talk lots of NFL at the bottom of this hour. NFL Insider from Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Will join us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline. It's a football-heavy edition of the show today. Not just pro football, but college football as well, because the national championship game is tonight. I think we've got about a half where it's going to be competitive, and then we can all go find something else to do. It's going to be a beatdown tonight, and it's going to be another great example of why we had the system that favored a Cinderella, and we junked it for TV dollars. We had the one system where you could feasibly, if everything broke right for your team, win a national championship if you were, say, Kansas State. And we have junked it in favor of a system that is only going to benefit one of 3 different teams every single year. We had it all, and we threw it away.
Are you rooting for Will Howard?
I am rooting for the Meteor. It's Ohio State and Notre Dame. I hate both of these teams, man.
Yeah, like Will Howard.
I'll be happy.
Guy.
Sure.
We've talked to Will.
I'll be happy for Will Howard. Will Howard is a super guy. Like, super nice kid. Great story. I will be. I will be happy for Will Howard when Ohio State wins by 20+ tonight.
I don't think I'll feel either way about it. Like, I like Will. I'm glad Will was nice enough to join us a couple of times, and no personal beef. But
yeah, I got no problem being happy.
I don't think I'm gonna like.
I have no problem being happy for Will Howard. I can separate my feelings for Will Howard from my feelings for everybody else associated with the Ohio State University and football program in its entire history.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping that we get a good game again. It really sucks that Riley Mills is not playing. I would have picked Ohio State regardless, but Notre Dame not having its best defensive lineman is going to suck.
So we'll get into that. We'll also talk a little college basketball. Round 1 of the Sunflower Showdown this year went to Kansas, beating K-State by 10 on Saturday. I was there. I watched all 40 minutes. If you were a K-State fan, you might have turned it off after 4. If you did, you missed a pretty good fight. Like a credible performance, I thought, after that first 4 minutes from Kansas State. Made a game of it at the under 4 timeout, which is all the best you can hope to do a lot of times at Allen Fieldhouse, frankly, is to have it be a game at the under 4 timeout. But in the end, KU too good. Hunter Dickinson and Zeke Mayo too good. And we'll talk about everything coming out of that Sunflower Showdown as well. Plus, your 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll do a round of what is wrong with you, the good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend that was. That's all still to come. And your interaction with the program today is invited and encouraged. We have the text line, 785-272-9429. You can also hit us up in the YouTube live chat. If you're watching right now on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk is the channel. You can watch us in your browser, on your mobile device. There's a live chat feature, and you can interact with us and your fellow listeners. See who we got in here already today. I see Barbara, Paul K's in here, Mark H., Clayton, Vance is in, Christopher, Joe, Jeffrey. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in to those of you who are already in today, and a welcome in to everybody who will join us throughout the program here on this holiday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Chiefs 23, Texans 14. T's and P's if you grab the spread at 9.5. That was a rough one for you. If indeed you grab the early week spread at 9.5 in this game, Chiefs win it, and it was kind of what we thought it would be in the sense that it was a one-score game again for the bulk of the fourth quarter or second half. But it also never felt like the Texans actually were going to win the game. And the reason it never felt like the Texans were going to win the game is because the Chiefs performed the complementary football ideal to its highest level. It was not the offense's most explosive day, but they moved the ball when they had to against a very good defense. Look, I'll tell you right now, whatever the road looks like from here for the Chiefs, they will not face a better defense than that the rest of the season. They will not face a better pair of pass rushers. Or a better pass rush, period, than that the rest of the season.
You called out Stingley and Kamari Lassiter on Friday's show previewing the game. Do you know how many passes or how many receptions those two allowed combined this weekend?
Probably zero, because the Chiefs weren't trying them.
Not a single
one. The Chiefs
one.
sacrificed DeAndre Hopkins and Hollywood Brown largely. They threw one ball to Brown, they threw one ball to Hopkins. Sacrifice those guys to Lassiter and Stingley. That is the best pair of cornerbacks the Chiefs are going to see the rest of this season.
It was the first game that Hopkins in his career has ever been held to without a catch. He's caught a pass in every game he's played in his career.
That's pretty incredible.
Postseason and regular.
Yeah, it's also pretty funny, though, if you're DeAndre. And when you're older, your role changes, obviously. But if you're DeAndre Hopkins, you went from, if we are going to have a prayer in this playoff game, both with Houston and Arizona, I need to play like Jerry Rice and Randy Moss combined, and we still might lose by 2 touchdowns. To, hey, DeAndre, you're just going to run laps.
Yeah.
And we're going to, you're going to run laps and that's going to help. We literally need you to only do that, and it's not going to matter if you're going to win.
Go get your steps in and keep Kamari Lassiter and Derek Stingley busy.
Yeah.
Keep them occupied. Keep them away from the guy we're going to spend the whole day throwing to.
Turn your head back to Patrick a couple of times to keep him honest. And that's all you need to do.
That's all you need to do. And in exchange, you're going to go where you've never been, a conference championship game.
Yeah.
And I think that's,
I feel pretty happy for DeAndre Hopkins.
I think that's a trade he makes 10 times out of 10. No catches, but I get to play for a conference championship for the first time ever. I'll take that trade.
It's all he's missing.
So that was the offense. The defense, they held the Texans to 1 touchdown. It was a very impressive and very long touchdown drive. It was a Service Academy touchdown drive. 15 plays, 82 yards to start the second half. Obviously, the 8 sacks of C.J. Stroud we've mentioned a couple times. And special teams. Dave Tobe's unit was tremendous on Saturday. It started with Nico Remigio's 63-yard kickoff return to open the game, though. Nico, man, ball security. That's going to, you could see that Nico's got some juice, but the ball security, not so much for him. And it's probably going to be what keeps him from a bigger opportunity in this league.
Well, and
if he doesn't get it right.
When we talk about the team that makes the fewer mistakes is almost always going to win in a playoff game, Tobe's unit, the most impressive thing other than that fumble on the long return was they did not make a mistake. They did everything by the book, fundamentally sound. Houston did not. Houston's special teams was a disaster. Mm-hmm. And part of that's forced by Kansas City. I think part of that was self-inflicted too.
Yes, part of that was,
and it hurt them badly.
Kami Fairbairn missing another game-tying extra point. Gosh, it was deja vu from week 16.
Well, and you have a former player for the Texans who still knows how they snap, lining up and perfectly timing the snap to block the field goal.
Yeah.
Like everybody was calling that offsides. No, he played for them. He knows how they do their special team snaps.
Good call.
Spencer, humor me. Did Justin Reed play for the Texans 4 weeks ago?
No.
Did he play for them 8 weeks ago?
No.
Did he play for them at any point this season?
No.
When was the last time Justin Reed took a snap as a member of the Houston Texans?
3 years ago.
3 years ago.
And he still knows how they do their business.
which is probably like really not good when
Yeah.
they've changed coaches in that time.
Incredibly
Yeah.
not good. So 3 easy points to start the game thanks to the Remigio return. 7 points that the Texans left on the board. The field goal that was disrupted. The field goal blocked at the end by Leo Chanel that sealed the game. That's how you win this time of year. You play complementary football. Andy Reid talked about it in the postgame, and that's why the Chiefs are once again moving on to the AFC Championship game. A lot of heroes from this one. Start with playoff Trav, right? You have to start with Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
He did something in Saturday's game that I have not seen him do all season long. And that something is make somebody miss.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen him do that all year. Talk about a guy who looked reborn, rejuvenated, faster, lighter on his feet than he has been all season. I guess you can load manage as you go if you're a player like Travis Kelce, because I did not think that Travis Kelce, you can always count on him to make a crucial third down reception, be a weapon in the red zone, all those things. But I didn't think he had a dominant performance in him. And the Chiefs needed that because, again, the Texans on the outside are outstanding. That was going to be the matchup. If it was there, the Chiefs were going to have to take advantage. And boy, did they, because Travis Kelce had a turn back the clock performance with those 8 receptions, with the touchdown. Him and Jerry Rice, the only players in NFL history with over 2,000 receiving yards and 20 touchdowns in the playoffs.
I'm going to toot my own horn because I made the point on, I think it was Friday's show, might have been Thursday last week, to mention that Houston's corners are really good and their safeties are not. Like Eric Murray was starting at safety.
Yeah.
Eric Murray, Chiefs cast off a few years ago.
And the Chiefs targeted him. Like that big catch Xavier Worthy had on the field goal drive that made it 6-3. That was on Eric Murray one-on-one.
Yep. Good. Smart play calling. And that's what the Chiefs do, right? They find the favorable matchup. Who was it against the Eagles? It was Marcus Epps, who had to play at safety due to injury in Super Bowl 57 for the Eagles. And once he was on the field, I mean, that was the game plan. It was, okay, yeah, we're going to run plays, but where's Marcus Epps? Just throw the ball there.
Right.
That is your primary read, Patrick. Find Marcus Epps. And when you see Eric Murray on the field, you throw at him, especially a guy like him who we talked about on Friday, plays a lot in the box and is going to be near Travis Kelce a lot.
It also bears noting that the touchdown pass to Travis Kelce instantly enters the Patrick Mahomes pantheon of all-time great plays. Yeah. And yet when I thought about it, is it a top 5 playoff moment for Mahomes? Because that would be the signature playoff moment for what? Every other quarterback in the NFL?
Okay, my only request is that this play replaces the one from Super Bowl 57 in the Pantheon, because 55 from Super Bowl 55.
The one where he's parallel to the ground and hits, I think it was Damian Williams in the face mask.
Darryl the Barrel.
The other Williams.
Guys, that pass was incomplete and it turned over on downs on 4th down. I know it was an incredible athletic feat. They lost by 1 million, and that was incomplete. Let's replace it with this one, and we're good.
Yeah, we got a better version now. We got one that ended in a catch.
Like Jimmy over in Belton, okay, change your Twitter profile picture or your Blue Sky picture. Now it's this pass, not that one, and we're good. That's all I'm asking.
That might be something we got to do later in the week, like where that ranks. just playoffs only.
Yeah.
Because there's the TD run against the Texans. There's Wasp. There's the run to set up the field goal to beat the Eagles. And I'm sure I'm forgetting some others too, but the run with the roughing the late hit that sets up the field goal to beat the Bengals in 21. That's up there though. That's up there for Patrick Mahomes, that touchdown pass to Travis Kelce. Other guys who were heroes: Furious George Karlaftis,
best player in the game.
3 sacks. He had CJ Stroud in hell
on a 4th down, one of them nonetheless.
Yeah.
It was really dominance by everybody on that defensive line. Everybody
Chris
had
Jones
a moment.
Was unstoppable.
They couldn't block Chris Jones.
I love just the ability that Chris Jones has. He's a interior defensive lineman by position.
Mm-hmm.
But he had that sack playing on the outside.
Yeah, the willingness to move him is one of Spags' best strengths. And frankly, it's incredible that Chris Jones can do that. Probably a benefit of him having to play 3-4 end earlier in his career under he who must not be named, Bob Stutz.
Jones was awesome. Charles Omenihu, verified playoff riser, had another terrific game, had a strip sack. It was Felix Anudike-Uzomah who had a sack and another tackle for a loss.
Yeah, a big moment.
Yes, Tershawn Wharton, I thought, was impactful. Mike Dana got in on half a sack, I believe. Impressive game up and down. Karlaftis, though, was the guy with 3 sacks, including that pivotal one on 4th down midway through the 4th quarter.
The secondary, too. Spags' ability to rush the secondary, to bring a guy in, and what he's able to do, whether he gets a sack or not. Jamari Connor got a sack on Saturday, but Najee Johnson pressured the quarterback into a bad throw on a 3rd down.
It was like he saved the best for last. He always has that knack, Spagnuolo does, for holding some of that blitz stuff back for the biggest moments in games. And 4 straight plays there on that drive with the Chiefs up 20-12, where CJ Stroud never had a prayer. And that was all Spags. Like, I expected to, for them to pan to the sideline and see Spags foaming at the mouth at that point. Just absolutely rabid at that point, sending guys after the quarterback. Offense, again, not spectacular outside of Kelsey, but Kareem Hunt with some vital 1st down runs late in the ball game to set up the field goal that made it a 2-score game. Kind of leaning toward him being the feature back and Pacheco being the change of pace the rest of the way in this playoff run. That game kind of verified what we had seen down the stretch, that Hunt right now just has a little bit more juice, and he did look spry on rested legs. The Chiefs had some big moments with him. The touchdown was on a 3rd and goal from the 1. The 4th and 1 conversion that helped keep a drive alive. The touchdown drive in the 4th quarter. Big moments for Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, no, awesome for him. The only person who's that not awesome for is Isaiah Pacheco, because it cost him some money.
Yeah.
Because, look, I know he's coming back from injury, so that changes things. But, look, man, if you have less juice than Kareem Hunt in 2025,
it's a tough injury to come back from.
I don't know that I'd go to the negotiating table if I was KC after next offseason.
It's not a great injury to come back from. No. I want to see what it looks like with him. I'm not giving up on Isaiah Pacheco just right now for what this team needs for their offensive identity. Kareem Hunt right now seems like the better fit. Like, he's running better than Isaiah Pacheco is, and the Chiefs rode the hot hand at left tackle with Joe Thuney. I think they're going to ride the hot hand with Kareem Hunt moving forward as well. As they move forward into a 7th consecutive AFC championship game, they are the 4th team of 9 to be pursuing a Super Bowl three-peat to even get this far. 76 Steelers, 90 49ers, 94 Cowboys. None of those teams got back to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs are 1 win away from being 1 win away. We'll take a quick timeout, come back with our good, bad, ugly from the weekend that was. We'll talk to Matt Verderame later on this hour as well, our NFL Insider. We are just getting started on this Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. The good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend that was. We'll go quick on this as we want to get into Matt Verderame and his conversation with us, which happens weekly here on 580 Sports Talk. Brendan, what was your good for the weekend?
My good, guys from Kansas who played 3 years out of the state and then transferred back to a school in Kansas for their senior year. Mouthful, but Zeke Mayo this weekend, awesome. Lawrence guy, went to South Dakota State, now back at KU, awesome. He was great. He's a star, especially at home. On the road, okay. At home, best player in the country, possibly. And then Jacob Hanna for Washburn from Wichita, went to Illinois Springfield, had 26 points this weekend for the Ichabods. They dropped 121 on an opponent in 40 minutes of American basketball. 121 points.
That is
preposterous.
An unbelievable amount of points. My good, Chief Special Teams and vis-a-vis the Texans special teams and complimentary football, because that's what wins games in January. It's very, very old guy coded take, and happened to be true on Saturday. Boy, Spencer, I can't imagine what your good is. Remember, we're on a time limit here.
Yes, the Washington Commanders just being the better team. It felt like,
without question,
knowing where the ball was going to be. So I seen a video clip. Darryl Green, when they played in one of the NFC Championship games, I think 91 or 92, he picked off the Lions quarterback in almost the exact same spot that Quan Martin did and returned it for a touchdown. That was pretty freaking cool. Also, being a grown man crying over a football team doing so good.
It's awesome, right?
It's awesome.
Also, I'm glad you got that.
Also, the Capitals beat the Penguins. Penguins might suck this year, but still, Capitals beat the Penguins.
All right. How about your
weekend?
How about your bad, Brendan?
Ref talk. Shut up. You get 1 hour. You get 1 hour after the game to talk about refs. After that, you're a loser, and I will not talk sports with you.
I say you get 0 hours after the game, especially if you're in the opponent locker room. Nobody has ever come off well complaining that much about officiating after the game. That was pathetic for D'Amico Ryans. Absolute garbage.
If you're a Houston fan, I will give you until 1 hour after the final whistle to say, God dang, that call sucked. That shouldn't have been a foul when Mahomes got hit. I'll give you 1 hour. That's fine. 1 hour, 60 minutes. As soon as that is over, you are a loser. Shut up. Talk about the game, not the refs.
My bad was that helmet-to-helmet hit by Henry To'oTo'o on Mahomes was a soft call, and they should look at changing that rule a little bit or being a little more lenient on that moving forward. But also, they called a terrible face mask on Washington in that game. The pass interference against Keon Coleman that led to a Buffalo touchdown was the worst call of the weekend. NFL officials, not crooked. The game's not rigged. They're just bad at their jobs. Spencer, you have a bad?
Yes, it's combined with the ugly. I did not want to see the Eagles advance to play the Commanders in the NFC Championship game. So seeing Saquon rip that one with like 6 to go in the game, it was ugly to watch for me.
My ugly, Mark Andrews.
Ugly for me. There were 50 fouls called in the Washburn women's game this week. The refs had absolutely no control over the game. It was preposterous. Absolutely awful. Women won, though, so good for them.
That's too many fouls.
50!
It's more than a foul a minute.
Yeah.
One of the worst games I've ever seen officiated.
That is honestly revolting.
Awful.
Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated joins us next. Talk football here on 580 Sports Talk. We are hoping to be joined soon by Matt Verderame from Sports Illustrated, SI.com, and all kinds of other avenues for his work, including the subscriber-only Patreon, the Matt Verderame Show, and That Football Show on the KC Sports Network. Matt joins us Mondays on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline to talk NFL, and again, we hope to get a chance to hear from him shortly here today. It's a holiday weekend. Sometimes stuff happens, but hopefully we can get in touch with Matt here soon to talk about Divisional Playoff weekend and the Chiefs going to a 7th consecutive AFC Championship game.
I know you're a big Lamar guy. Yesterday, tough game for him. Couple of drives that were the first drive and the last drive of the game were awesome. The middle, not as awesome.
Interception was bad. The fumble was bad. Also, that was a bad snap and a busted play from the very beginning.
Sometimes you just got to eat it, though.
I think that whatever your priors were on Lamar Jackson, they were confirmed. If you think Lamar Jackson is really great, you can win a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson. You saw in that game what you would have expected to see from Lamar Jackson. I think if you think Lamar's a bum who sucks, then you can point to the 2 turnovers and say Lamar's a bum who sucks, and I knew it all along. So whatever you thought about Lamar Jackson is what you thought. Nothing you saw in that game was going to change your mind. I just want to know this. How come there were as many designed Lamar Jackson running plays called by Todd Monken in that game as there were designed running plays for me?
Yeah, no, that was bizarre. I don't understand that one bit, to be completely honest with you. I think Lamar's awesome. I mean, I think he is, I don't want to say once in a lifetime. That's probably not fair. But, I mean, he's a once in an NFL generation kind of player. He's an incredible talent. I also I think it's ridiculous to give him the benefit of the doubt in the playoffs at this point. I saw Trey Wingo today, former NFL host. I don't know. He's doing a podcast or something now. Say something about how you can say what you want about Lamar Jackson. All I know is he got his team in position to tie it late. Yeah, why did they have to dig out of the hole in the first place, Trey? Because he had 2 really bad turnovers. Like he's a great player, but we went, what would it have been? 8 years of, yeah, Peyton Manning's great, but he can't win the big one. Lamar, well, let's handle Lamar with no. He's not good in the postseason. He is a bad playoff quarterback. He's an incredible quarterback in general.
He has not had good playoff results.
Game.
He has not had good playoff results. I think that is different and separate from being a bad playoff quarterback.
All I know is he's played 8 playoff games and has multiple turnovers in 4 of them. That's bad. He had 4 turnovers the entire season.
Yeah.
Like that, okay, he's not a bad player. Like, he was good last week. He was good last week. But, at some point, you have to do it when the lights are the brightest.
Yes, I mean, that will be the millstone around Lamar Jackson until and unless he is able to win a ring.
And I'd say all this, I would love to see Lamar Jackson win a ring. I think it'd be an awesome story. He's fun.
I like Lamar a lot. Outside of Mahomes, he's my favorite quarterback to watch in the NFL.
I think not only are the 4 best quarterbacks in the NFL all in the AFC, I think they're also the 4 most fun quarterbacks. Now, Mahomes is, they don't need to be fun, which is more annoying than it is anything. They win all the time, and that's not being very fun anymore. But in terms of when that dude is in the zone, you see Mahomes just do crazy stuff. Josh Allen, Lamar, Burrow to a degree too, also crazy.
We're gonna have to add a 5th name to that list here real quick, though. If we haven't already, we're gonna have to add a 5th name to that list because
he's been great.
Yeah. It's
I have a policy. I will not do it after 1 year. But I mean, if it's October of next season and it's the same thing, then yeah, I have no problem doing that. Dude's been incredible. He's been amazing. You're right, Spencer. They were the better team for the Goff fumble.
Yeah,
I don't know that Washington might have won anyway, even if the Lions score on that drive. That fumble, to me, ended the Lions' chances because then they had to play from behind the entire game.
I thought they were going to win until they called a wide receiver reverse pass. And Jameson Williams threw in a double cover.
I don't know why you just don't run that out of bounds.
I'm going to say this.
Run it back to the line of scrimmage. You could have run back to the line of scrimmage.
I know that's mean, but Jameson Williams is just not very smart.
Clearly, he's been suspended for dumb reasons. So
I'm going to say this. Ben Johnson today, it's being widely reported, is going to be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. And
Division
he
rival.
has been the most highly sought after assistant coach to become a head coach now for the last 2 off seasons. And the Bears have moved quickly after a process that was widely ridiculed because they interviewed everybody and their mother for this job. And now it looks like Ben Johnson's their guy, and they're going to go get Ben Johnson. I'm going to tell you this right now. Grady Little is the guy who didn't yank Pedro Martinez early enough. Darrell Bevel's the offensive coordinator who called a passing play at the 1-yard line in the Super Bowl when his running back was Marshawn Lynch. And Ben Johnson is the guy who called a wide receiver reverse pass down by 10 at home as a touchdown plus favorite in a playoff game. I will never get over that play call. It is absolutely the stupidest thing I have ever seen a team or an offensive coordinator put into action in a playoff game. It is inexcusable. And I will never not think of that when I look at Ben Johnson. It absolutely calls into question his trustworthiness, his mentality in a big game, his decision-making. I will never totally trust Ben Johnson. He is always going to be the guy who called that.
I think he deserves, just personally, I totally respect your opinion, man. I personally still would give him the benefit of the doubt because I think the 3 years body of work for him outweighs a single moment. And like, I think the Bears are making a good hire. I do. I would love to make a joke. It's still not good for them that Ryan Poles is their GM, but I think it's a good hire for them. That being said, your point about like moment last year when they lost in the playoffs, I do not think that was Ben Johnson's fault. I think that was Dan Campbell and Jared Goff's fault. I think yesterday was largely Ben Johnson and Jared Goff. Goff is terrible, and he's been really good all year.
Dan points out in the YouTube
yikes.
comment he wasn't the same after he took that shot from Frankie Louvu on the pick 6 return, which should have been flagged. And they would have arrested Louvu on the field if he'd made that hit on Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen.
I agree, but would say at the same time he wasn't really good before that either.
No, I mean, the pick 6 literally happened before that.
Okay, so here's a question for you, and I don't need to like defend Ben Johnson. He's about to make a lot of money whenever this deal gets signed with the Bears.
Yeah.
I don't mean to defend the guy. Do you think he was more willing to do that, knowing how much Goff struggled to call the trick play? Again, I would not have ever put the ball in Jameson Williams' hand in that situation.
Do you know why
you are losing by 10 points?
Sure, no, I hear you.
You can't. The time for the trickery, the time for the fun stuff is over with at that point. I thought they were going to win the game before that happened. I really did. I thought they were going to go and score and get a stop and score again because when they did not turn the ball over, Washington couldn't do anything with them.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, is a funny thing to say, right? But they were the only team that stopped themselves.
Yep.
I have a
Saturday.
theory on this. So Ben Johnson was a wee young lad in 2000. When was Super Bowl XL?
Super Bowl 4. Oh,
Super
Dan,
Bowl
when was Super Bowl?
My sophomore year of college.
So Ben Johnson was a wee young lad.
05 season.
He was watching his Detroit Lions wide receiver coach do the same thing
in the Super Bowl.
In the Super Bowl, they were only up 4, or they were up 4.
They were up.
Yes.
Up, not down.
But if
10,
that goes bad, then
see, it is an interesting point you bring up though, Dan, because it is always different when you're the bully. When you are the bully and you pull out you're making fun of the kid. Oh, that's funny, haha, picking on the kid. When you're playing from ahead, oh, we can have Penei Sewell try to throw a pass. We can do the double shovel pass in the middle of the field. We can do all sorts of stuff. But when you need to come back, it is always different. And that is why, if you're the Bears, the one big question I would have is Ben Johnson is used to A, pretty much always playing from ahead the last 2 seasons, and B, having a brick wall in front of your quarterback with the best right tackle in football, Penei Sewell, and generally speaking, I think the best offensive line in football, maybe number 2 after Philly. What happens when you have exactly 1.5 good linemen?
That strikes me as a team who's going to invest heavily in changing that calculus.
I would.
In the draft and through free agency.
They should.
I'm good with their weapons. Like, you could argue that they could stand to get better at running back. That's fine, but they got the quarterback and they got the wide receivers. Go get you a stud left tackle. Go get you a stud right tackle. I don't know. Maybe you're the team that gives $100 million to Trey Smith. Like, I don't know, but that's where you have to invest.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that's where the Bears will invest. We'll get to that a little bit more in headlines later on with that news earlier today. Not long before we went on the air, in fact. the Adam Schefter report that Ben Johnson will be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears.
By the way, can I share a fact real quick?
Yes, you can.
There was no other good time to share this stat, but while the Bears receivers are coming up, do you know where DJ Moore ranked in the NFL in yards per catch this season?
I do not.
145th.
That's not great.
Below guys like Jahmyr Gibbs, Jonnu Smith. How about Derrick Henry, who is
famously not a great catcher of the football.
Yeah, amazing running back. Really bad hands.
Dropped a touchdown on Baltimore's first drive. That was probably a touchdown, even though it was thrown behind him.
Yeah.
He's one-on-one with a safety.
Yeah.
You know how that goes.
He's going to kill him.
Yes.
Yeah. He averaged under 10 yards a catch. That's wild how bad that offense was. I think Johnson's a good hire, but hot take for you. Might only be the second best hire of the day.
Oh?
The Indianapolis Colts. Have you seen this? They found their new defensive coordinator.
Yes. His name is Lou Anarumo.
Look, I love the hire for Indy because they had been. Gus Bradley survived, I think, 3 head coaches in Indy. How? Who is still being fooled by Gus Bradley? How? How is that possible?
Great question.
And so he ended up getting fired, and they brought in Lou Anarumo. Guess who the Colts play sometime next season?
At Arrowhead Stadium. Yep.
Maybe that's why they hired him.
It could be.
For one game.
Text from the 785, and you can text the program throughout today, 785-272-9429. Text says, you notice all the fair weather teams are out. There were 4 playoff games played in frigid temperatures. Frigid. We had 2 snow games yesterday. That ruled.
Yeah,
aesthetically speaking, that was awesome. 4 games played in frigid temperatures on the weekend, and the only home team that lost was the one that plays their games indoors.
That's true.
So
it's a great question. I wish we had Kurt Warner here because he would make the opposite argument of me right away that it sucks. Shocking. A guy who played for 3 teams.
Now,
2 in a dome and 1 outdoors. He was great twice and terrible once.
Now, I
don't
believe that a team playing in Baltimore is exactly unfamiliar with adverse weather conditions.
Right.
I don't think you can point to that and say, well, they weren't prepared for the cold. Not in the same way that we do it with Miami every year, right? Or that you could say that about the Rams, who went out east and had ball security issues in the snow in the second half.
I don't think the Rams' problem was like the Dolphins' problem, where they're just not tough. I think the Rams actually played a tough game.
I kind of thought after that Puka Nacua catch in that final drive, I thought they would win.
Hey, by the way, Jared Verse, know the name. That dude is awesome.
Yeah, he is.
But you're right. They couldn't hold. Clearly, Kyron Williams had no idea what to do with the ball, which is crazy for a dude who played at Notre Dame. You'd think you'd be used to cold games.
Yeah.
But he had no idea what to do with it.
One other little tidbit from, I guess, the first 2 weeks of the playoffs. The home teams have won all but 2 games in the playoffs at home this year.
Wow.
The 2.
That is impressive.
And the Commanders have won both of those games.
Between the college football playoff and the NFL, 5 teams who got a first-round bye lost.
Huh.
Only team that won, best team in football.
Yeah.
Everybody else lost.
Yeah. The Chiefs moving on again to the AFC Championship game. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll give out some game balls for the Chiefs win over the Texans from Saturday. And we got a lot more to come on the next 2 hours of 580 Sports Talk. 3:55 on 580 Sports Talk, wrapping up the first of 3 hours of the program today. We're with you until 6. Then the Chiefs Kingdom Show coming up at 6 o'clock here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. Let's give out some game balls to some members of the Chiefs. Spencer, you took the layup.
Yes, but I also was basing it off of, I was like, you know what, I did this a year ago, so why not bring it back? And he performed. Travis Kelce, 7 of 100 for 117 yards, receiving with a touchdown. He was actually my big chief. So my big chief came through for me.
He looked incredible.
He looked
And
like he
then
was 22.
Had the wherewithal to make that exact joke in the post-game press conference when somebody asked him, hey, you feel like you're 25 again running out there? Maybe that question was a plant. I don't know. But that was really good. Like, he was in fine form. That looked like prime Travis Kelce out there, and maybe that is playoff Travis Kelce. Brendan, who gets your game ball?
Yeah, I gave mine to Felix and UDK Uzama. Good to see him. I've been imploring him for most of the season to go out and do something in a big spot. Fourth quarter sack in a playoff game feels like a big spot.
Mine goes to George Karlaftis, another layup. I mean, the guy did have 3 sacks, but I thought that might have been the best game of his career. And again, not just because of the 3 sacks. It was how the 3 sacks came and the situations in which he got those 3 sacks. Winning one-on-one, you don't want to chip George Karlaftis.
No.
Like, you don't want to block him one-on-one with a tight end on a 4th down.
Is there any better matchup for a bad offensive line like Houston's? Is there any worse matchup than a guy like George who's got that kind of speed to power mix?
That unbelievable motor.
Yeah.
Like, he's just not going to quit.
Nah, that's disaster matchup for Houston.
Yeah, he was.
You want to talk about a team with soul searching to do this offseason. Oof.
Well, they can blame the refs.
Bums.
All the way into the offseason. They can cry their way into the offseason. Nobody has ever come. I just can't get over how whack that was for all of them. Will Anderson, CJ Stroud, all the leaders of that team to stand up and talk about, well, it's the refs, but it is what it is. It's pathetic. Nobody has ever sounded good saying that after a game.
Nope.
Except Mike Holmgren after Super Bowl 40 because he was right. That game was rigged. We got 2 more hours of 580 Sports Talk coming up. We're going to do What Is Wrong With You. We're going to recap the Sunflower Showdown from Saturday. But first, we're going to talk about the value of not screwing up and why the Chiefs have mastered it and why it matters on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk, hour number 2 on this Victory Monday edition on 580 WIBW FM 104.9. Online worldwide at 580WIBW.com and in living color on our video stream. Hello to our video viewers on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the YouTube channel. You can also watch us on Facebook at WIBW News. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuy hanging out with you today. Thanks so much for being along with us. Know this is a holiday. Many of you have the day off of work. Not us. We're in the box. We're bringing you sports talk until 6 o'clock here on 580 Sports Talk. You can interact with us throughout the program on our text line, 785-272-9429. Also, if you are watching on YouTube, get in the live chat, whether you're on the web browser or your mobile device watching on YouTube. Again, the channel is 580 Sports Talk. There is a live chat. You can interact with us and your fellow listeners throughout the show. I'm dealing with something that every new parent deals with, and that is the ruination of the algorithm on YouTube.
Yeah,
because I've been signed in on the Roku. I will occasionally, fire up YouTube and watch, like highlights of a game I missed. The leagues usually do really nice, condensed game or highlight packages.
sure.
And other things that I like to watch on YouTube, those ridiculous compilations that are like flops, but they get more egregious, or balks, top 10 balks in 2024, stuff like that. Like I like to watch those things. Well, the other day, my wife was at home with Ash and put some videos on by, I don't know, maybe new parents familiar with Miss Rachel. She does these videos for like toddlers. I don't know. I wasn't familiar, but apparently Asher was enjoying them. So now I go to my YouTube, my front page, and I see, because I'm a subscriber to the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Of course.
And I see our videos, and I see, Chiefs highlights, Nuggets highlights, and Miss Rachel. And it's only the beginning. It's all downhill from here. I've managed to, it's my wife's Spotify account that has had that particular algorithm destroyed. But now there is a chance for you video viewers out there who like to watch 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. And if for whatever reason you see viewers of this channel also watch and it's Miss Rachel, that was me, hand up. That was me blowing up the algorithm.
See, when I need to put on music for our kid, I have the link to what I want bookmarked. I just only open it in incognito mode. That will not be happening to me as long as I can avoid it.
That's smart.
It will happen at some point. I am fine with that.
It's inevitable. Yeah.
I am going to fight against it as long as I can. So I have the link to YouTube on my phone. We'll have to walk around holding her with just the noise playing in the back and the music or whatever. It gets opened in incognito mode.
No, I respect that. I respect that. I did that when
You will not take my homepage of NFL Throwback and WWE highlights away from me.
Shout out NFL Throwback. No, I did that. So when I DJ'd a prom in 2021, that was a thing that I did. I DJ'd a prom in Sharon Springs. Shout out to Sharon Springs, way out in Western Kansas. Pretty sure it's in the Mountain Time Zone. I did Wallace County High School's prom. Okay, I DJ'd the prom. And I had gotten a list, like the prom committee had sent a list of songs that I was going to go through and then add to, my playlist of songs. And I'm going to play what the kids want to hear, right? Like, I'm not going to get up there and like, hey, you kids like Boldy James? How you kids feel about old Cameron? Like, I'm not going to make kids listen to what I'm listening to. Like, I want them to have a good time. I want them to hear. But there were a lot of artists on there that I didn't recognize. I'm not really up on the country music of the day, for example. So I said, all right, I got to do this in an incognito window, not blow up my algorithm. I'm going to look up what is a Cole Swindell? Like who are these people? And so that was how I went through. And there was some stuff like, yeah, okay, I understand why kids would like this. Like, I'm going to put this on the playlist. There was some other stuff like, nah, kids, I'm going to save you from this. Like, I'm not doing this. We'll do the Mexican hat dance again instead of play this.
The most important fact to know about Cole Swindell, I know I've shared this before. Our old pal Britt Z turned me on to this. Do you know what his real first name is?
Cole Cole?
Colden Swindell. You know what his middle name is?
Snowy?
Rainy.
No, it's not.
Hit up that Wikipedia right
Yes,
now.
it is.
Pull up that Wikipedia right now. You
No.
will see that I've never told a lie.
No.
Colden Rainy Swindell.
Colden Rainey.
Yep.
Swindell. Well, I bet his parents had a good chuckle when they submitted that.
Part of Glenville, Georgia. Yep.
When they submitted that that birth certificate. Look, it's hard to name a child. Look, I have more sympathy.
You don't have to give their name, make their name a pun.
Hey, well, his wife didn't care much. She's a cheerleader was a cheerleader for the Charlotte Hornets.
Wow.
Okay. Was he the one that played football in North Carolina? Or am I thinking of another country?
No, you're thinking of someone
D-bag?
else. No,
Chase Rice, right? Was it Chase
Yeah.
Rice who played football?
Yeah.
Did he play in North Carolina?
Yeah.
Is that who I'm thinking of?
Yeah, and then
Okay.
what's his face? Sam Hunt played at UAB.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
The body like a back road guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he put at UAB.
Yeah.
And then they brought him on game day one time when that song was blowing up, and he straight up was like, yeah, I don't really watch football.
What's really fun sometimes is to mishear the lyrics to Body Like a Back Road and imagine that instead of saying eyes closed, he's saying a word that rhymes with bass bowl. Because it sounds like that's what he's saying. Sounds like he's saying a word, reference to a body part that would rhyme crudely with bass bowl.
That's pretty funny.
Yes,
I've never heard it like that, but okay.
Yeah, now I've ruined it for you. I hope next time you hear Body Like a Back Road, the next line you hear is driving with my bass bowl.
Was there a lot of like rap and pop and stuff out in on the playlist for that prom?
It was a little dated. I did have one kid beg me the entire night to play Mo Bamba.
On repeat. Mo Bamba.
The youth love Mo Bamba.
Yes, they did. He bribing me at one point to play it.
You take the bribe?
I played like a Kids Bop version. Like I played like the softest version of it you could find. Like I'm not trying to get in trouble, right? Like I didn't get paid till the end of the night, right? I needed that check.
They play that song in
I'm on
stadiums all over, though. I'm sure there's an edited version somewhere. Granted, only about like 60% of the song can play, but
yeah,
still.
Bought a nice driver with that prom DJ and money. But no, I did. I got in like a heavily edited version of Mo Bamba. Speaking of, like Mo Bamba still sets it off. I was at Allen Fieldhouse. We're going to talk about the Sunflower Showdown this hour. So this is actually germane to something we're going to get into today. I was at Allen Fieldhouse on Saturday for the Sunflower Showdown, KU State.
Mm-hmm.
Second half, during a TV timeout, they were playing some highlights of Jayhawks in the pros. And they had a highlight. Somehow they had a highlight from this year of Joel Embiid that wasn't him hobbling off the court or in street clothes. And they also had an Andrew Wiggins highlight or something. And they were showing this. And to soundtrack the highlights, they were playing that song by LiAngelo Ball, Jello. They're playing Tweaker, which is the song that's gone viral. It was on.
Oh yeah,
it's the memes are very funny.
Yeah.
The Tweaker memes are hilarious, but like it's blown up to the point where the brother of Lonzo and LaMelo Ball, who didn't hack it as a basketball player and is now doing rap as his career. They've been playing. You hear that song like all over. It's all over the internet. He performed at the Lions Commanders game. He's really having a big moment. And I suggest to him that he embrace the moment because they played that song at Allen Fieldhouse and nobody gave a damn. That did not set anything off in that building. Nobody got hyped for Tweaker. Absolutely nobody. Not one soul was like, oh, yeah, this is my jam. You know, or like if they played Mo Bamba, everybody would be chanting the words.
Oh, yeah.
Still, to this day. And that song is like 5-6 years old.
5 or 6, Dan, I'm going to need you to sit down for a minute. That song is 8 years old.
No!
Yes.
2017?
Oh, yeah. Sounds about right.
The
Sounds about
album
right.
came out later, but yes, the song was released in 2017.
Oh, God.
Sounds about right. That was peak fraternity era for Spencer.
No, need a cold compress. Yeah, so I would suggest that Jello Ball enjoy his moment of viral fame because that song is not going to ring off in arenas like by the end of this year.
It will have been. I
totally forgot that this ball existed. And then I went to his Wikipedia page and remembered, oh, yeah, he's the guy that had to go overseas to play basketball.
Yeah,
he wasn't any good.
Played in the NBL.
Yeah,
and he got in trouble for stealing sunglasses in China. Yeah.
And then his apology was, I'm sorry to the store where I stole the sunglasses from in China, or something to that effect. I am sorry for stealing the sunglasses in China. It was such a specific apology, and I remember it very well. Anyhow.
Yeah, he went to UCLA and then got kicked off the team.
Yeah, because he stole from the stores in China. Yeah. That is why. Anyhow, let's let's get into what we actually want to talk about this hour. Again, you can interact with the program, 785-272-9429.
I wanted to talk about Mo Bamba.
I always want to talk about Mo Bamba. They had that in CFB 25, man. That song still goes crazy. People still love to get college students at the end of the day is what they like to do is cuss.
You get to yell curse words.
So yeah, like Jello Ball should have put like a swear, like a universal swear. Not one of those that only some of us can say, and by some of us I mean explicitly not us, the three of us. You should have put a swear in the song, and then then the kids would like to wear it out loud, say it out loud, because if you're 18, if you're 18 to 22 years old, the thing you love maybe more than anything in the world is swearing in public.
No, that's true.
Yeah,
swearing,
that's very true.
Cussing out loud with your friends is like a top 5 pastime for a college age student. We're gonna get to the Sunflower Showdown. KU won at 84-74, which means that over the last 36 minutes of basketball, K-State actually 4 points better than KU. We'll get to the takeaways for both the Jayhawks and the Wildcats from that game. We'll do what is wrong with you as well. But I wanted to start with why the Chiefs beat the Texans. Why the Chiefs are going to a 7th consecutive AFC championship game. It's the value of not screwing up. And it is not to say that the Chiefs have never made a mistake, never committed a penalty, never turned the ball over. None of those things. This is a human game and a complex game, and mistakes get made. But the Chiefs have a way of avoiding the killer mistake. And the Chiefs have a way of avoiding the self-inflicted killer mistake better than any other team in the NFL. Here are the raw numbers that support that. We are now 19 games. 19 games. That is a full regular season plus a run to the Super Bowl now. Collection of games, or at least a run to the AFC Championship game. 19 games into the Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid playoff era. The Chiefs have lost the turnover battle 4 times in 19 games. Only once have they turned the ball over more than their opponent at a number higher than 1. They've not lost the turnover battle by multiple turnovers except in one game, Super Bowl 55, game they lost. The Chiefs have never in this era committed more than 2 turnovers in a playoff game. And when they do, they have a winning record. They're 3-2 in games where they turn it over twice. They won both Super Bowls against San Francisco. They committed 2 turnovers in both of those games. They also turned it over twice against the Steelers in the 2021 wildcard game, still won that game. And the games they lost where they turned it over twice, Super Bowl 55 again, and the 2021 AFC Championship game against the Bengals. So those are the raw numbers that say the Chiefs avoid the killer mistake, multiple killer mistakes, and making more mistakes, multiple more mistakes that end up on the stat sheet than their opponent. But this goes beyond the stat sheet. I want to go back to that drive that the Texans went on, down 20-12 after the Mahomes to Kelsey touchdown. And that's the drive where Spags turned up the heat at midfield, right? And got the pressure on first down, pressure on second down, blitz everybody in Arrowhead Stadium on third down and forcing completion. And it's 4th down and 10. And it's entirely defensible for D'Amico Ryans and offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick to decide, hey, we got to go for it. What were there? 7-8 minutes left in the game at that point. You don't necessarily know you're going to see the ball again with that Chiefs offense. It's a 1-score game. You're on the Chiefs side of the field. Totally defensible to go for it on that 4th down and 10. But they don't get the play in. They can't make up their mind. Rather than burn a timeout, they rush to the line with 5 seconds left on the play clock. They barely get the snap off. And when they do get the snap off, the Chiefs are bringing everybody again. And when you rush to the line, what don't you have time to do? Set your protections. So that's how you end up with Nico Collins having to chip instead of your best receiver getting out in a route. And that's also how you end up with Dalton Schultz one-on-one trying to block George Karlaftis. And that, in turn, is how you end up with a 15-yard loss or whatever it ended up being on that 4th down play with Karlaftis sacking Stroud. And even though the Chiefs didn't do anything with that possession in Houston territory there, the game effectively ended at that moment. Would that ever happen to the Chiefs? Could you ever see a scenario where the Chiefs were that unprepared, that indecisive, not knowing what to do, and then just saying, screw it, full send, we're just going to do it? That would never happen
No.
to the Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes Chiefs. It just wouldn't happen. And those are the things. That's where the separation is from the Chiefs and the rest of the NFL. Why they can win by, quote unquote, being boring. Why they can win with Mahomes only throwing for 177 yards and with being outgained. That's how you win in those scenarios. Because in the most important moments, you are the most prepared. Or your opponent just happens to be less prepared. And that was the thing that struck me maybe more than anything else that actually happened in the game or anything that the Chiefs did. It was the Texans' failure in that moment that said, that's why the Texans can't beat the Chiefs in a game like this. Man for man, Texans have some great players. Will Anderson might have been the best player on the field on Saturday. He was certainly the best player on the field in the first half.
Yeah.
But in a moment like that, you're found wanting because you're not prepared. You're not ready to step up and meet that moment. And the Chiefs always, always, always are.
And let's think about how often this happens, right? Like, this is not a new phenomenon where the Chiefs are, man, this team has changed from once upon a time. Yeah, but how many times has Mitch Holthus spoken to us about why the Chiefs do what they do during training camp? Every year? We do daily training camp reports with Mitch all summer long. The entire month of August, very end of July, we do the training camp reports, and we talk about him the start of our weekly conversations with him during the year as well. Why do the Chiefs do that? So that they are prepared for anything, because they are grueling practices. They are not fun. Training camp is not summer camp for the Chiefs. It is work, and it is work from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to bed with very little time off in the middle of it. It is a grind, and they go over everything. And that pays off in a moment like on Saturday. You know what else that pays off? In the Super Bowl, when one team knew how overtime worked and one team did not.
Exactly.
And did you realize, I know you did, that because one of those teams did not know how overtime worked, that probably cost them the Super Bowl, or at least factored into costing themselves the Super Bowl? I remember it quite well. I remember talking all about it the following day on 580 Sports Talk last February. The Chiefs are always prepared for those things. When the Chiefs make mistakes, or frankly, even when Andy Reid makes mistakes, they're on the fly. It's not a preparation thing. It's never a preparation thing with Andy Reid. Why do you think he's won 99.999% of all games he has after a bye? Slight exaggeration, but not by much. He's always prepared. He is always ready.
What is their record now? Something like
it's ridiculous.
I think it's 31-3 now when the Chiefs have a bye and their opponent doesn't. I think it's what
ridiculous
it is.
That every time it happens, they are always ready, always prepared. You don't run into the situation where somebody is panicking. And granted, other teams are good at that as well. They're not the only team that is prepared for every situation. But it helps that they have a coach who otherwise is also great, a quarterback who's great, and great players on both sides of the ball. Like, that is the difference maker. That is the decider. We talk about it in, use a college basketball comparison, right? If all things are equal between KU and take the game in Las Vegas, take KU Duke from earlier this year. Duke probably even had a little bit more talent than KU, but if everything else is equal, are you taking KU or any given opponent? You're taking KU. Why? Because they've got the difference maker. They've got the best close game coach probably in the history of college basketball in Bill Self. If you're saying you're giving everybody equal talent on the field and all the weirdness that comes with an NFL game, an NFL playoff game, all that, who are you going to take? The team that is ready, that knows every single situation? Or are you going to take D'Amico Ryans? And I like D'Amico Ryans. A little bit less after this weekend, but I like D'Amico Ryans. I'm taking Andy Reid every single time because it's not just Reid either. All these guys. This core has been together a long time. A really, really long time. Travis Kelce has been with this team since 2013. Chris Jones since 2016. Patrick Mahomes has been in the building since 2017. Like, those are 3 Hall of Fame players who have been around a long time. And even the guys who are younger or were free agent additions. This is what, year 4 for Tooney?
Yeah.
22, 23.
21, 22.
21, 22, 23, 24.
So year 5.
Year 4 for Tooney. Year 4 for Creed Humphrey. Year 4 for Trey Smith. Year 3 for Karlaftis. Year 3 for Trent McDuffie. That's the core. Every one of those. Year 3 for Jalen Watson.
Yeah.
Year 3 for Justin Reed. All of these guys are prepared for everything. And that's the difference. That is the difference maker. It doesn't always lead to a win because sometimes Tyreek Hill has a ball hit him in the hands and he can't hold on to it and it gets picked off. Sometimes that happens. More often than not, though, that's why you keep winning Super Bowls.
To go back to a point we made last week about the Chiefs' divisional round history, and I did look at the number because I had it in the show notes for last Tuesday. 31-3, Andy Reid, when his team has a bye and the team they're playing does not. 35-7 all time after bye weeks, regardless of the scenario. I had mentioned that the Chiefs had covered the Vegas spread in every divisional round game that did not include a Patrick Mahomes injury. That remains true. I mentioned that the Chiefs had improved upon their results against opponents they were seeing for a second time in the divisional round. Beat the Texans by 8 in the regular season, beat them by 9 on Saturday. That remains true. Those trends still hold, and it does. It goes back to training camp at Missouri Western. It starts in St. Joe,
yes, it does.
And it follows. And that's how you beat a team that, look, the Texans walk away from that game probably feeling pretty good about how they game planned and really how they played in large part. Do you know what the record was in NFL playoff history for teams that had outgained their opponent by 100 yards and not turned the ball over?
Weren't they undefeated?
49-0.
Yep.
49-0. The Texans outgained the Chiefs by 124 yards and did not commit a turnover, and they lost. Why do you lose? Because you screw up that fourth down. Because you don't get the details right on special teams. And that is the problem. That is the problem that the Texans enjoyed. Or rather did not enjoy. And that's the problem. That is the scenario that the Chiefs enjoyed once again on their way to a conference championship game. We're going to take a quick break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, let's do What Is Wrong With You. Then we'll break down the Sunflower Showdown. That's coming up next. You're listening to 580 Sports Talk. What is wrong with you on 580 Sports Talk? 2 new stories to begin a new week of 580 Sports Talk. We're going to Florida for both of our stories today. It's been a hot start to the year for the state of Florida on what is wrong with you. It typically is, but maybe this year more so than usual. We're going to Miami, where a suspect is being sought in a couple of home burglaries. Suspect hit 2 homes in the Coconut Grove neighborhood back on December 29th, one around midnight, another at 1:15 a.m. The suspect describes the white male donning a black T-shirt and a white baseball cap, and the T-shirt read, quote, "Jesus saves lives."
All right.
Know what Jesus doesn't do? Condone stealing. That's notable. Like,
Yeah.
you didn't have to go to too much Sunday school to know that is the case.
No.
This is not a not as a do as I say, not as I do kind of situation.
It is not.
With JC. Now I don't know that he condoned this particular behavior. Sounds like several household items, including silver and gold figurines, were stolen in one of the cases. The suspect may be responsible for more crimes in Coconut Grove. Anyone with information is asked to call the MPD burglary unit or Miami-Dade Crime Stoppers. This just a guy with a ironic T-shirt, really. Like, he's doing all these home invasions, and he may have done a lot of home invasions, but yeah, doing them while proclaiming your faith is a wild thing. Not exactly following one of the 10 Commandments.
Nope.
Did he think it was like a get out of jail free card?
Maybe.
Well, hold on, read my shirt. Read my shirt.
It's automatic,
I don't think
right?
that's how it works.
That's how it works right now.
No, not how it works. All right, Spencer, you've got a story.
Yes, we're going over to Tampa, Florida. A man accused of committing several armed robberies in the Tampa Bay area has been arrested. That's a funny name, I think. Ian Gasperson. His last name is Gasperson. 29 is facing numerous charges related to robbery with a firearm and drug possession. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office said in the news release, deputies launched an investigation on Saturday, January 18th, after receiving multiple calls about a man robbing multiple gas stations at gunpoint.
So hold up. Gas person is robbing gas stations.
Yes.
Truth, once again, stranger than fiction.
Nominative determination is real.
It gets kind of a little bit more funny because what do you put gas into?
A car, in theory.
Yes. Through investigative means, detectives identified the vehicle linked to the crimes, revealing the car was a rental. After contacting the rental company, the agency confirmed that Gasperson rented the car. Also, an acquaintance of the suspect reviewed several surveillance footage from the robberies and identified him as Gasperson in all 3 incidents. He was arrested without incident the next day, and deputies who searched his car found evidence linking him directly to the robberies.
I wonder if it's a hard G, like Jasperson.
Or if it's Gasperson as opposed to gas person.
It's probably Gasperson, but gas person robbing gas stations.
That's
is
really funny.
Really good.
And you put gas in a car, and he rented a car, and he was found out through renting a car.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea that they're not going to track me if I don't use my own car. Are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure if the cops showed up at Hertz, they turned that over without a whole lot of resistance.
Yeah.
Hey, in his defense, he thought, maybe they would chase another gas person down, since that's probably such a common last name. The Tampa gas persons run real thick down there. Paul in the YouTube comment says, kind of hoping his vehicle is electric. That would have been funny.
Yeah, that would have.
That is funny.
So, yeah, I think the irony there sends that one over the top.
Yeah, I got to go with the nominative determination there. That's really funny.
Gas person. Robbing.
Can we just call that can we make that title
the story
gas person?
Is gas person.
Yeah, I'm glad I went with that story. I had another option. So I was like, I'm gonna go with this one.
Gas person is our first winner this week on What Is Wrong with You. We'll take a timeout. When we come back, KU defeated K-State, the Sunflower Showdown on Saturday. Lots to take away from both teams in that game, actually. We'll discuss it next on 580 Sports Talk. 4:39 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan, Brendan, Spencer with you until 6 o'clock this evening on this Martin Luther King Day holiday. And a Victory Monday for the Chiefs. Also Victory Monday for the Kansas Jayhawks in the Sunflower Showdown. Saturday afternoon, noon game on CBS. You turn that game on as a K-State fan, and you turned it off before the under-16 media timeout. I cannot say I would have blamed you. It was a very grim start for the Wildcats. KU came out. Zeke Mayo couldn't miss. K-State couldn't put anything in the basket. And the Jayhawks poured it on. They led 14-0, and Jerome Tang had called 2 timeouts in the first 4 minutes. There's one thing that I've been critical of regarding Jerome Tang as an in-game coach. It is sometimes he sits on his timeouts a little too long, doesn't call them maybe as quickly as he should to try and stem momentum. That was not a problem on Saturday. He was up off the bench in a flash to call some early timeouts as Kansas State fell behind by 14. But if all you saw were the first 4 minutes, then you maybe saw what you were expecting, both from the Kansas and Kansas State perspective. If all you saw were the last 36, saw a pretty competitive basketball game. K-State made it a game at the under 4 media timeout of the second half. They were within 6 on 2 separate occasions. KU ends up winning it by 10, 84-74. And it was interesting that both teams had very similar reactions after the game, the reactions you'd expect, where the Kansas State perspective was, we played really well. It's just the bad start that cost us. And if we'd started better, we could have won. And then Kansas saying, yeah, we started great. We just kind of took our foot off the gas. So, both teams come away from that feeling about as you would have expected. I'll start with the KU aspect of it first, because it never really felt like they were going to lose. And some of that is they haven't lost to K-State at Allen Fieldhouse since, I think, 2005, 19 straight wins for KU over K-State at Allen. So it never really felt like, and even in the building, the energy at Allen Fieldhouse was just so strange for the better part of that second half. It was like people were just kind of waiting for the game to end. Like, all right, come on. We know how this is going to go. We all want to get home and watch the Chiefs. Let's get this thing to the end. And then when K-State kept hanging in, they're within 9, they're within 8, and then they got within 6. And then the crowd kind of came back into it. And,
that's how it goes, right?
Yeah, and that's usually how it goes.
We've been there for enough of those.
Yes, exactly. So KU, primary takeaway is obviously if Hunter Dickinson and Zeke Mayo are that good at the same time, Kansas is very, very hard to beat. Like the best version of Kansas is one where Hunter Dickinson is imposing his will in the way that he did. 25 points, 8 rebounds. He was on a mission to start the second half of that game. I think he had their first 8 points of the second half. Zeke Mayo started the game hot. He was terrific. Home court Zeke Mayo continues to be my front runner for the Wooden Award. I cannot submit that as a vote, and also I am not a voter, but Zeke Mayo at Allen Fieldhouse is the best player in the country, damn it. 24 points on 13 shots. He was 4 of 7 from deep, 6 of 8 from the free throw line. Those two guys are that good. KU is really, really good. No KJ Adams for that game and for the near-term future. Flory Badunga got the start. That was a little surprising to me. I thought they were going to go with Rylan Griffin, but instead, Bill Self chose to go with a 5 that has been effective with Dickinson and Badunga sharing the floor together. And Badunga played fine. 6 points, 9 rebounds, plus 13 in his 25 and a half minutes of action. AJ Storr got 17 minutes off the bench. It was the most he played in Big 12 play. He scored 7 points, but he was a minus 11. And the bench minutes were nothing to write home about. Honestly, the reason the game didn't get to a blowout is because K-State reserve lineups outplayed the KU reserve lineups. And that goes to show you how much you miss a regular starter. And Bill Self was quick to say after the game that, for the last 3 minutes of the game, we really miss KJ Adams.
So a couple thoughts here. One, that's why I still there are certain fans, and I talked about this the other day, that I've liked watching games with the companionship of social media because it's fun to have people to talk to during a game or see other opinions or facts you might have missed or whatever. KU online fans have gotten so toxic recently. I really hate it, to be honest with you. So you're just not going to please. There are some fans that will not be happy unless every single player on the floor shoots 60% of their shots from 3 and everything else is a dunk. You're just not going to please everyone. And Flory's got to play no Hunter. Get Hunter off the floor. Well, Hunter was really good this weekend. I still like Flory coming off the bench, generally speaking, because I want more of that energy off the bench. And this game, it was really flat. And I like having that guy who can come in and give you something like that coming off the bench. Here is regarding KJ Adams, not having him out there. This stat is from, or pair of stats from Derek Johnson, who hosts the Locked On Jayhawks podcast. Great dude, great podcast host. This was the number one offensive game for KU this season in points per possession. Number one. And very easy to point to, you don't have a 4 who has to stay in the dunker spot. You've got a 4 who is going to actually draw attention to other parts of the floor. You don't just have to pack the paint against them offensively. You can space things out a bit. Yes, that is absolutely true. That is the weakness of KJ's game. It was also the worst game in terms of defensive points per possession for KU this season. Shockingly, Flory Badunga as a freshman is not as good playing out of position defensively as KJ Adams is in his natural spot. That's why KJ Adams continues. And I know some people don't. The frustration I have with some of the KU fan base, I've seen some really heinous stuff said about a guy in KJ Adams who plays his ass off.
A national champion.
Say whatever you want about the dude's offensive game. He plays his ass off every single game. And I really hate the way some people have talked about him, fan base and not. He adds a lot defensively that Flory is not giving you. And Bill Self wants defense.
Yes, always.
That is what it is. And do I wish that the rotation evened out a little bit and the playing time? And KJ, by the way, has only played 32 plus minutes, I believe, once all season, maybe twice now. But he hasn't played that many minutes as much as he did last season because there is better depth this year. Would I like him to play under 30 every game? Yes, frankly, I would. But that defense is incredibly important, and you're not getting that when he's not on the floor. That is what is going to hurt KU the most. Is it more fun to watch KU score a ton? Obviously. But is the defense also important? Yes, it is. And you know who that's going to be important against coming up in the next couple of games? Oh, I don't know. Probably still the best team in the Big 12 in Houston in 2 games.
Yeah.
Just kind of important.
Mention AJ Storr. Storr is going to get the biggest minute bump in all likelihood. That's why he played more minutes than he had since the Brown game. He played 17 minutes. And look, 7 points, 3 of 6 from the field, knocked down a 3, but he only got 1 rebound. He was a minus 11. Rylan Griffin played for 12 minutes, was invisible. He had a rebound and an assist and a turnover. He didn't take a shot. That's
odd.
Arguably your best shooter, and he doesn't get a shot.
That's the one that has puzzled me the most, because you've heard me talk about how high I am on his game, and I think his skill set fits what KU wants from a wing.
Mm-hmm.
But it just hasn't Storr, I get it. You were going to have to really mold him into something he's not. So I get why that hasn't worked out so much to this point. Yeah. Griffin, though, to me is a puzzle, because I'm not sure why that hasn't clicked.
The Kansas State aspect of this game, their bench minutes were the best minutes. They're all 5 of their starters were negative in the plus minus. And that's an imperfect stat, I know, but I think it is telling when all 5 of your starters are a minus and all 3 of your bench guys are a plus. David Castillo, for the second straight game, led K-State in plus minus. He was a plus 15 in his 23 minutes on the floor. He finally made a 3-pointer. His first makes from 3 since the Drake game.
Yeah, he made a couple of them.
He missed 18 in a row before he hit a couple in that second half. Also had an assist. Didn't turn the ball over. CJ Jones was a plus 6 in his 13 minutes. He made a couple of shots, handed out a couple of assists. Ugonna Yenso, 14 minutes, he was a plus 13. He had 9 points, 2 rebounds. Him and Coleman Hawkins really fit nicely together as a 4-5 combo. And it's just emblematic of how awkwardly this Kansas State team is built, that I think the Hawkins on Yenso idea, it makes a lot of sense. It especially makes a lot of sense when you're going up against a big man like Hunter Dickinson, because what happened to start the second half of the game, it's a 10-point game at halftime, which had to feel a bit like a win for K-State, given how poorly they started.
Without question.
They had to feel like, okay, hey, we're still in touch here. And then Hunter Dickinson went beast mode before the first media timeout, dominated the game. Onyenso was watching that portion of the game from the scorer's table. K-State couldn't get him in the game. If Tang was slow to call a timeout at any point, it was then and there, because Dickinson was feasting against David Gasson. And that's a problem that you run into, is that David Gasson has to play. He played 20 minutes and had 13 points and 5 boards. He has to play because he's your best and your most consistent effort player. but all he can do is play the 5. You can't play him at the 4 next to Onyenso. That doesn't work because that also slides Coleman Hawkins to the 3, and that doesn't work. Hawkins is stuck at the 4. Gasson and Onyenso are kind of stuck at the 5, and you can't play them both at the same time. So, again, it's an awkward fit, and a lot of the issues that Kansas State has run into, not knowing how to get their best 5 guys on the floor at the same time, is because the pieces fit this awkwardly.
Yeah, it is an awkward fit. You're completely right about that. Most teams these days list guys either as guard or forward. That's what you are. K-State is one of the few teams that actually uses the listing wing for David Gasson, but that only really hammers home more. That dude should not be your 5. And I know K-State fans, because I've seen this online. I've seen it on the Go Power Cat boards. I've seen it all over. Sick of the 5 out thing. Like, please get a true center. We want a big man. I've seen that a lot this year. And I think you can make.
And their offense actually kind of looked pretty good. They ran 3. Yeah. They ran all their ball handling guards. I thought their best lineup was when they had C.J. Jones, Doug McDaniel, and David Castillo with Hawkins and Onyenso. That kind of worked. Like, is your spacing going to be great? You don't have like an elite 3-point shooter out there, though I think Castillo is better than his numbers the last month have shown. You don't have an elite shooter. You don't have like a Hassan out there, which hurts your spacing. But for 5 out, the drive and kick, like, we joke about K-State not running plays. Like, when it looks bad, it looks like they're not running anything.
Right.
Like, the 5-out motion offense is designed to be an offense where you don't have to call a play because somebody is creating something, and off-ball movement is creating looks, and it's drive and kick and hit the shooter in the corner, move off of that, cut towards the basket. The motion offense is meant to look like that, and when it works, it does. It looks like a symphony. But when you got guys out of position and you don't have good enough shooting, you go 6 for 26 from 3, that's when it looks like a mess. And too often it looks like a mess.
Yeah.
The one thing I wanted to say about Hawkins, too, now, he wasn't efficient. Nobody shot the ball well. They were 6 of 26 from 3. Hawkins himself was 1 of 7. He ended with 15 points, 10 assists, 7 rebounds. That's like the ideal end-of-game stat line for a guy like Coleman Hawkins. And the more I have watched Hawkins, because I think, I can't fault K-State's effort, their try hard, their give a damn. They could have hung their heads down 14-0 after 4 minutes. They could have gotten their daubers down over not being able to make a 3-pointer. They competed their butts off for 40 minutes in that game. That was an effort worthy of the jersey, as Jerome Tang would say. Coleman Hawkins, I think he cares. I think he brings it every night. I think there have been moments where he hasn't played well. He has struggled to find his fit, but I've never questioned his effort. I've never questioned his heart. This is the player he is, and I think he takes too much heat for being a Michael Waka on a Garrett Cole NIL deal, if I can mix my metaphors sports-wise.
I know what you mean. No, I actually completely agree with you.
He is a complimentary player and a very good one who can make your team better, but he is being paid in the NIL space like an ace.
Yeah, he's a super role player. And I don't mean that like, oh, he's a role guy. No, he's really, really good at what he does, but he's not a number 1.
Yeah.
And you can't have a team all of number 1s. He's a great player to have, but you don't have the creator.
So I can't come down to Hawkins for what this season has become. I mean, come down on the evaluation process that led you to lay out your big NIL check for giving Michael Waka Garrett Cole money.
Which game was it overseas when he had the post-game comments? He was like, it took me a minute, but I'm in the groove now.
It was the Longwood game.
Longwood game.
He has the 3rd place game, yeah.
And I understand, you got to look at the opponent there. Before that game, I agreed with, like, hey, Coleman, what the hell are you doing, man? But since that game, I think he meant that. And I think he's honestly played pretty well, but in a tough spot.
We'll take a timeout. We're going to come back, wrap up this 4 o'clock hour, 580 Sports Talk next. 4:55 on 580 Sports Talk, which means we're wrapping up this 4 o'clock hour. One more hour to go on the program today, and then the Chiefs Kingdom show coming up at 6 o'clock here on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9. We have a champion. The Prairie Band Sportsbook 580 Sports Talk Picks Contest. Sometimes you can keep getting away with this. Spencer Dupuy's favorite teams covered spreads at a preposterous rate this season. Marshall was 12-1 against the spread this year.
Yeah,
I don't know if we went over that.
Yeah,
his alma mater was 12-1 against the spread, and he kept hammering them over and over and over again. It was free money. That was a 5 o'clock free crack giveaway all season. Marshall against the spread. And then the Commanders kept doing it down the stretch as well, and then it continued into the playoffs. And with them not only covering but winning on Saturday, Spencer Dupuy is our Prairie Band Sportsbook 580 Sports Talk Picks Contest champion. Congratulations.
My first year.
I sent Spencer a text during, or I guess it was our group message, as the game was decided at the end on Saturday night. And I told you, and I meant it, I'm not even mad I lost. The continual just dominance by just going back to the well over and over. It's like running halfback dive when you're playing a team with two crappy defensive tackles. Like, until they learn to stop it, just keep running it.
Yeah. I was getting nervous about
it. It was working.
I was getting nervous about the Chiefs game. I was counting it. I was like, Olivia was looking at me. She's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Because I chose the Chiefs to cover
8.5."
I'm doing spread math.
Crucially, you got the number at 8.5 on Friday.
Yeah.
Many got the number at 9.5 earlier in the week, and that intentional safety cost some people some money. But everything that costs somebody money on one side of the spread also makes somebody money on the other side of the spread. One person's bad beat is the other's best win of their life.
Congrats, Spencer.
Yes, congratulations to Spencer. He is the season-long champion. We'll recap the divisional round, talk about tonight's college football playoff title game, and bring you the 580 Sports Talk headlines to know coming up in the final hour, 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Victory Monday afternoon following another divisional round win for the Kansas City Chiefs, defeating the Houston Texans 23-14 on Saturday at Arrowhead Stadium. The 7th annual Arrowhead Invitational. Last year's was moved to Baltimore because of, I don't know, the mast had termites. But it's the 7th annual, as far as I'm concerned, Arrowhead Invitational, the AFC Championship game. Arrowhead Stadium, Sunday night, 5:30 Central Time kick. It will be the Chiefs and it will be the Bills. For the 4th time in the postseason in the last 6 years, the Chiefs and the Bills meet in the AFC playoffs. We're breaking it all down on this edition of 580 Sports Talk today. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski, Spencer Dupuis here on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video stream, which you can watch on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and on our Facebook page at WIBW News. We'll have a lot more to say about the rest of the divisional playoff round coming up here in just a little bit. We've had to physically restrain Spencer Dupuis from going overboard with the Commander stuff, but we'll get there. We'll let him have his victory lap here in just a little while and talk about the other games as well, including some thoughts on Bills, Ravens, and Rams, Eagles from yesterday. Was that the most aesthetically pleasing divisional playoff Sunday with 2 snow games?
Yeah, it was awesome. That ruled. So
yeah,
much.
I just wish there was a little bit more snow in Buffalo.
You know, that was, I would say that is almost the proper amount of snow. Enough to cover the field so you know it's snowing, but also not enough that it, like, materially impacts how teams can play. Like, that one snow game that Buffalo played where the snow was, like, up to everybody's knees. Mm-hmm. Shady McCoy had the winning touchdown overtime. Like, that looked great. That wasn't great football. Like, we can divide. We can make a distinction. The Rams Eagles was absolutely affected by the snow. The Rams fumbled the ball, couldn't hold on to the ball in the second half, cost them the game probably. That was like the perfect amount of like snow for the sake of aesthetics in Buffalo. The field looked great. The game played great. That was ideal.
The funniest thing was in the Eagles game was looking at, if you saw on the cesspool that is Twitter. There's a picture of like just a screenshot of the game in the first quarter and in the fourth quarter. No snow to a lots of snow,
plenty of snow. No, snow games are all. I mean, that's the perfect visual for football. It belongs in the snow.
Unfortunately, we won't have Super Bowls like that.
No,
I'm fine with that. I'm okay with Super Bowls being either indoors or in warm weather. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the final game of the season being decided in neutral weather conditions. I am.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to this. I mean, Rams, if you are upset you had to play in the snow, win more games to get home field.
Yeah, exactly. You want that advantage? Go and get that advantage. But unfortunately, that was not the case for the Rams, and one of the reasons why they are going home early. So, yeah, we got more to say about the divisional round. We'll also preview the college football playoff national championship game tonight. Like, it's not wrong to say there's like no buzz for this. I always forget until like the day of or the day before the national championship game. Since they went to the playoff, it's too far removed from when we do college football.
Yeah, it is.
For me,
it's too long of a wait.
It's too long a wait, and I understand why it's that way from a, well, we can't do it on the weekend because we don't want to do it on the same day as the NFL playoffs. And we can't do it on that Monday because now the NFL playoffs extend to that first Monday or second Monday of January. So we got to wait for the third Monday, and that's just when we're going to put it on TV. I understand from that perspective, but it sucks. And this whole system is leading us to a conclusion that I could have told you we would have arrived at all the way back in August, because there are only 3 teams that can really win a national championship in a given year, particularly in a playoff structure. I have lots of thoughts, and I'll hold them for that segment. But we want to hear from you throughout this final hour of the program. Hit us up on the text line, 785-272-9429. You can also join us in the live chat on our YouTube account, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. You can Enter into the live chat, interact with your hosts and fellow listeners if you are watching on your mobile device or on your web browser, youtube.com. Let's get into some headlines, shall we?
Let's do it.
Let's start with the 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll begin on the college hardwood with movement in the AP Top 25 on the men's and the women's side. The Kansas men have fallen 3 spots to number 12 in the country after going 1-1 this last week. KU dropping 3 spots to 12th out of the top 10. Auburn is now not only number 1, the unanimous number 1 team in the country. All 62 first place votes as they've kept on ticking even without John Broome, their best player. Duke and Iowa State flip-flop. Iowa State lost to West Virginia on Saturday. We had CJ Moore on Thursday, and he said, basically, as long as they don't let small go off, Iowa State's going to win that game. Well, he went off.
He went off.
He went nuts. He had 27. And Iowa State suffers their first loss in conference play. So they drop 1 spot to 3rd. Alabama and Florida round out the top 5. Tennessee, Houston, Michigan State, Kentucky, and Marquette are 6 through 10. And I saw Michigan State play against Kansas. That didn't look anywhere near being a top 10 team. And here they are, number 8 in the country after beating Illinois on Saturday.
I was talking earlier about how much I hate ref talk and that you get 1 hour, then you got to stop. Man, Illinois fans they were not upset. They were throwing a temper tantrum about the officiating in that game. Was it bad? Yes, it was very bad. Their top player, and I don't want to get his name wrong. They call him KJ. He's got a
Lithuanian?
Eastern European name. I believe it's Lithuanian. Yes, Eastern European. That's
KJ's fine.
He real bad whistle, and he only played, I think, 9 minutes in the game. Technical foul. It was ugly. And, that changed the game. We would have gotten better shots. Our whole offense rolls through him. They lost by 2, and they missed 10 free throws. I do not feel a lick of sympathy.
Yeah, that feels like
they, at one point, missed 10 consecutive threes. You go 10% from 3 during the second half, and you win that game. I do not feel a lick of sympathy for them. And it's a good win for Michigan State.
Yeah, good win for them.
Such a classic Izzo team.
Yeah, really
Just to a T an Izzo team.
16-2. One of those 2 losses in Kansas. Houston's now the second highest ranked Big 12 team, up 3 spots, number 7. They survived UCF in Orlando on Saturday in a thriller. Kentucky, Marquette 9 and 10. Purdue, KU, Texas A&M, Mississippi State, and Oregon 11 through 15. Purdue, a big riser this week, up 6 spots after they beat Oregon in West Lafayette. Ole Miss is up 5 spots despite a loss on Saturday, and they moved up to 16th. And Illinois, Wisconsin, UConn, and St. John's rounding out the top 20. 21 through 25, Michigan, Mizzou into the rankings for the first time this year. West Virginia, Memphis, and Louisville. That is your
Mizzou loss is less painful now.
Yeah,
better for the metrics.
Thanks,
Tigers.
Who is more?
Can we cut that and save that?
Who is more shocking being in the top 25 right now, Mizzou or Louisville? They've won 8 straight. Pat Kelsey has made that program was a dumpster fire last year.
Yeah.
I mean, it has to be Louisville, right? Because, Missouri was awful last year, too.
Didn't win a conference game.
Horrendous. But they had continuity. And the whole thing Missouri fans have been, banging the drum for is that Dennis Gates is going to get us talent. And that's still shocking. There's no doubt about it. But for Louisville to go from the worst power conference program in the country, by pretty much all accounts, worse than DePaul, to where they are now is incredible. I knew Pat Kelsey was a good coach. I thought it would take a year, though.
As for the women's top 25, it took until now, but K-State, is finally a top 10 team in the country. They beat Arizona State yesterday, 81-69. They move up a spot to 10th in the AP top 25, 1 spot behind TCU for the highest ranked Big 12 team. Horned Frogs also up a spot to number 9. UCLA remains number 1. The top 8 remain unchanged in the women's poll. UCLA, South Carolina, Notre Dame, USC, LSU, UConn, Texas, Maryland, and then TCU and K-State. West Virginia moved up 4 spots to number 16, and Baylor is into the poll at number 25 from the Big 12. But the win on Sunday did come at a cost for Jeff Mitty's Wildcats, as Ayoka Lee suffered a foot fracture in that win over the Sun Devils. The press release from K-State Athletics earlier today has said that, quote, a return before the end of the regular season is probable, but more will be known in the next couple of weeks. And
brutal.
An X-ray was conducted on Sunday. A precautionary MRI taken on Monday confirmed the fracture in her foot. Lee was averaging 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 2.3 blocked shots per game. Now, this is a K-State team, unlike the last 2 seasons, that is a little more equipped to weather the loss of Ayoka Lee for the extended period of time. They've got a lot more depth this year. We've talked about it when we've had the occasion to talk about the Midi Cats, but still, you don't lose a player like Ayoka Lee and get better. And It's just a shame that Lee's body has kind of started to wear down a little on her as her college career has gotten to this stage, her final year of eligibility. And hopefully Yoki can get back out on the floor as soon as possible for the Wildcats, who are, once again, into the top 10 for the first time this year.
Finally.
That is my first headline. Brendan, what's your first headline today?
All right, let's hop on the coaching carousel. We've got our first, or well, I guess technically second, new head coaching hire, although the first one was so obvious that Vrabel was going to New England. So the first big surprise so far, the Chicago Bears landed the biggest fish in the pond. Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. He is the new head coach of the Chicago Bears, at least according to reports. I don't think the Bears have officially announced it yet, but he is going to the Bears. He is also reportedly already connected with Dennis Allen, the former Saints DC and then head coach. Disastrously bad head coach, really good DC, though. He is expected to be hired as the defensive coordinator in Chicago. Additionally, Darren Rizzi, the former interim head coach of the Saints, after Dennis Allen got fired, he is expected to be the new special teams coordinator in Chicago. Ben Johnson, obviously, like I mentioned, the biggest fish in a very small coaching pond this year. A pool of potential coaches that ranges from really awesome candidates to why are you interviewing that guy again? Look, I would love to make a joke. Seriously, this is a great get for the Bears. This is, without question, the best hire they could have made or that they wanted to make. I made jokes about Mike McCarthy. Mike McCarthy would have been an incredible hire for them, to be honest with you. Like, in terms of quarterback developer, quarterback coach, yeah, would have been perfect for young Caleb Williams. But Ben Johnson is the hot name. He's well respected. Everyone says he's a perfectionist, that he has a lot of trust with his guys, that it's not just whoa, he's kooky and wacky. Like, he's got a lot of trust in the locker room in Detroit. That was a reason why he was a good head coaching candidate and a better candidate than he was last year when he spurned Spencer's Commanders. Ended up working out. But the question I have is, one, there's always questions with a first-time head coach, right? Like, that's always. Some got Matt LaFleur for the Packers. It has worked out very well. Shane Steichen with the Colts. It took all of like a season and a half, and his own team nearly committed a mutiny this offseason. We'll get to the Colts in a minute, by the way. Like, that is the risk you run with a first-time head coach. It could work out, might not. The other thing, the Lions have the best offensive line in football. The Bears do not.
Emphatically do not.
They've got a lot of cap space, but also the last time they spent big money on a free agent offensive lineman, he literally did not make it 2 years before getting cut by the team because he just stopped showing up to practice. Nate Davis. So I would have fired Ryan Poles. I think that was the biggest mistake they made this offseason, but it's a good hire. And Dennis Allen's a good defensive coordinator. I think he's the least motivational guy on earth, but he's a good defensive coordinator. He knows what he's doing in that regard. The other news, told you we would get to the Colts. Lou Anarumo, former defensive coordinator of the Cincinnati Bengals and one-time candidate for the KU head coaching job, allegedly. He is the new defensive coordinator in Indianapolis. The Colts, by the way, will make a trip to Arrowhead Stadium next year. I love that hire. Just in terms of they need an adult in the room in Indianapolis. They need someone who's going to probably keep Shane Steichen in line a little bit more, someone who is going to command the room defensively because it was a mess. All sorts of great reporting on that this year from The Athletic. I think Lou Anarumo is the best coach they could have hired for that job, to be honest with you. The problem Lou is going to run into is, similarly to Cincinnati, there's not an extremely full cupboard right now in Indianapolis.
No, they're gonna need to go make some additions to get that defense to a really even to a playoff level. I would suggest.
I don't know what I'm pulling up right now for Ben Johnson in Chicago. I know the Bears have a ton of cap space. They, according to Over the Cap, have nearly 70 million, 69 million. Nice in cap space for next year. The Colts, 25.8 million. going into the offseason. So, I mean, not awful, but they're going to have to probably move some guys around to make a little space. So Ben Johnson, though, spurns the Raiders. Where do the Raiders and the Jags are the other finalists for him? I think the Jags are going to go for Liam Cohen. I think that's who
they're bringing him in for another interview this week.
Yeah, Cohen, Saleh, and someone else, I think.
Some random old offensive coordinator for the Raiders.
I don't know who that is. I saw the name, but I don't remember who it was.
I honestly never really heard of
I
him.
think they're going to hire Liam Cohen.
I thought he would fit. I thought Ben Johnson would also have been a fit in.
I thought so too, frankly.
Just with Trevor Lawrence.
But there is a lot of reporting out there that suggests that he did want to work with Trent Baalke.
I don't blame him.
Like,
he blames him for that.
He didn't want to take that job because Trent Baalke's still the general manager, and I don't blame Ben Johnson for that one bit. He was the hot name. He could afford to be picky, and he was picky, and he's landed in a spot where he's got the quarterback.
I will be so sad if Liam Cohen goes to Jacksonville, not because I hate the Jags or anything, but because I just want Baker Mayfield to have the same play caller 2 years in a row. Please let him have consistency.
No, that's a fact.
And the Bucs aren't going to do better. They improved going from Canales to Cohen. You're not doing that again.
No, probably not.
But Todd Bowles will get fired next year. I'm going to hang on to that.
Got that going for him.
What do the Raiders do? What the hell do you do? They went all in on wanting Ben Johnson, and they did not get him.
They get an owner coach and have Tom Brady become head coach.
Can you imagine Brady trying to coach?
Be...
What the hell's wrong with you? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not literally the greatest of all time. I'm just Aiden O'Connell.
Yeah.
Cut me some slack, Tom.
Look like
they changed their whole plans. Like they have to have all the nutrition plans, like the Brady way or whatever.
Yeah, TB12.
Yeah, TB12 diet.
Who is the greatest player to have actually been a good coach? Because you look at the all-time greats of the game who've tried to be coaches, across all sports. Is it Larry Bird? Because Bird got the Pacers to I'm talking about all sports. The greatest player to have been a good coach. Wayne Gretzky was a terrible coach, right?
Yep.
Magic Johnson couldn't hack it. It didn't even last a season.
I will never, ever, ever say a bad word about the man or the quarterback, Bart Starr. Bart was a very bad head coach in Green Bay.
Yes, and that's not even Bart Starr, great Super Bowl MVP, all that, not in the same stratosphere as a guy like Tom Brady.
Right.
It's hard.
Right.
It's hard because sometimes the greats just they have it. And you look when you're that gifted, sometimes you look at somebody else and say, well, why can't I just give it to you? Why can't you just be as good as I was?
Okay, NFL player, NFL specifically, if we're talking just in terms of most wins ever, the answer is Jeff Fisher. Jeff Fisher's 13th all time in NFL history in wins because he just coached forever. And he was a good player.
Yeah.
Really good. Played for the 85 Bears.
Tony Dungy was a decent player. Mike Ditka might be the answer. Hall of Fame player.
That's a good one. That's a really
Super
good
Bowl
one.
winning coach. He might be the answer on the football side.
You might be right about that. Yeah, there's not.
And I know like Bill Russell won a title as a player coach. That's obviously a different deal.
I mean, honestly, if we're talking sticking just with the NFL, he didn't coach for that long until he got his new job. Mike Vrabel's probably close to the top of the list.
Mike
right?
Vrabel had a very good career.
Yeah.
Jim Harbaugh had a very good career. But
Harbaugh, okay.
Difference between very good career again and upper echelon, top of the sport.
Two-time Super Bowl champion Gary Kubiak.
Big gap between those guys and top 10 guys in the history of the game.
No, you're right.
And those guys.
My guy Forrest Gregg, sadly, also a bad coach with the Packers.
Those guys don't need to get into coaching.
No. I'm just
the guys who are the great coaches. And a lot of times they were backup catchers or, role players.
Or Tyler, backup quarterbacks. We talked about last week.
Yeah. Gary Kubiak. Tyler mentions Pat Riley in the YouTube comments. Yeah, Pat Riley was just a grinder. Vance mentioned Yogi Berra. He was an okay manager. Certainly, I mean, was he the manager of the 73 Mets? Got them to the series, or was he just a bench coach on that team? I don't remember.
Dusty Baker?
Dusty Baker was a very good player.
Yeah.
Hall of very good.
Do not speak to me of manager Dusty Baker.
And then Christopher brings up the name Ted Williams, not a very good manager.
Yeah,
because he look at everybody and say, well, why can't you do what I did?
Yeah.
So,
that's a great point.
Spencer, do you have a headline for us to share?
Yeah, I got a couple MLB transactional headlines for you, and I'm going to start with the one that I hate saying. and then I'll give you another number to it in a minute. The Dodgers have signed Trent Scott to a 4-year
Tanner Scott to a 4-year, $72 million contract. You want another number here?
Please.
Their deferred contract numbers are now up to $1,236,500,000.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of deferrals. That's a lot of debt.
I said it to you the other day, Spencer, when we talked about the Roki Sasaki news. I understand why you hate the Dodgers, Dan. I don't hate the Dodgers for this. This is a Major League Baseball problem.
People being mad at the Dodgers for this are saying, oh, this is why we need a salary cap in this league. Now, you're missing the point. There are a lot of teams that should be financial titans in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
The fact that only one of them is spending money like it, while the Yankees are like, yeah, we gave Max Fried a bunch of money, now we're done. Or the Mets, yeah, we gave Juan Soto a bunch of money, we're done now. We're not going to bring back, we're going to lowball Pete Alonso, one of those beloved players in our recent franchise history. We're going to lowball him. We already paid Soto. We're plumb out of cash. No, it's the fact that teams like that, or teams like the Cubs, when Tom Ricketts talks about our goal is to break even, bro, you're not running a business. You are running an entertainment product. Your job is not to break even with your entertainment product. Your job is to entertain, win baseball games, build a winning team. Don't be mad at the Dodgers for being the only team out there who wants to put their money where their mouth is and go win some damn baseball games. Be mad at all of the other teams that have owners worth billions with a B dollars who have the opportunity to bring players like that into their markets, because I do think it's a little overblown to say, well, Larry Dolan, owner of the Guardians, is worth $4.3 billion. The Guardians could spend like the Dodgers if they wanted to. No, they couldn't. If the Guardians had offered Yoshinobu Yamamoto $325 million, the same as the Dodgers did, he would have chosen the Dodgers, because free agency is not a video game. And the Dodgers have competitive advantages. They have market advantages, just like the New York teams do, just like in every other sport, even the ones with a cap. Certain markets are more desirable than other players. To say, oh, well, owner X is rich, so their team should be able to spend and pay all the players the way the Dodgers do, not really how it works. The problem is that the Dodgers are the only team with the wherewithal to spend who are actually doing it. You should be mad at the Cubs. You should be mad at the Mets.
Oh, don't worry,
you should be mad at the Red Sox. You should be mad at the Blue Jays, who finally did find somebody to take their money today. Anthony Santander's going to Blue Jays.
At least the Blue Jays are, like, theoretically trying.
Be mad at the Astros for cheaping out on Alex Bregman. Be mad at the Angels for being a joke in the same city as the Dodgers. Be mad at those teams for not spending and making baseball feel like, well, gosh, the Dodgers are just buying everybody. Yeah, they're trying. Everybody else should try to try.
Well, I actually would argue that the Angels are the scapegoat for why so many owners are refusing. Because now they didn't pay Ohtani, but we knew he was leaving because they stink. Like, they have given out your boy Rendon got a huge contract with them. They have not ever been afraid to pay Trout.
It comes back to bite them sometimes, though.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Because they don't know who to spend on.
Yeah.
They just say, big name, take money. It's the K-State transfer portal thing. Like, big name, take our money. We want the big splash name, but it doesn't work, and they suck. So then you get doofuses like Tom Rick. Well, we can do that and be bad, or just be okay and still make money. And then they use that as the cautionary tale. It's embarrassing. It is genuinely embarrassing for the sport of baseball.
The next time you hear an owner, big market, small market, talk about running their team like a business, boo the hell out of them. Tell them to run their team like an entertainment product, like a public trust. Because you know what we don't look at on the box scores or turn on ESPN to watch? Businesses. Yeah. This is a game. These are entertainment products. Be entertaining, or sell your team to someone who will entertain us.
Like, why am I supposed to watch a team that I have cared about pretty much my entire life if the owner of the team, who is the one who is the tastemaker for what are we going to do and try to accomplish, why am I supposed to watch if he goes to the team convention and says, my goal is to break even, not we want to compete, contest. I don't care if it's
we want to win
words,
a World
man.
Series. You've gotten one in 130 years. We want to win a World Series. No, I got to break even. I got a governorship to buy.
Why am I supposed to watch?
I got an ambassadorship I got to purchase. I got a president to curry favor with. If that's more important to you than your baseball team, sell your baseball team.
Unfortunately, that is the case for probably 27 owners.
At least.
Yeah.
At least. We'll take a timeout. That'll do it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines. We'll come back, talk more about the divisional round of the NFL playoffs next on 580 Sports Talk. .534 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan, Brendan, Spencer with you this afternoon. Kansas City Chiefs defeating the Houston Texans on Saturday. First team through into the conference championship game. We got chalk in the AFC with the Bills beating the Ravens 1-2. We had 2 versus, what were the Commanders? 5, 6? 6. In the NFC, as the Eagles and Commanders will meet in a classic NFC East rivalry. We'll work our way backwards through the divisional round because we'll start with Ravens-Bills. It's one most germane to the Chiefs, obviously, as the Bills win 27-25. Game-tying 2-point conversion slips through the hands of Mark Andrews with about a minute and a half to go. That was probably too much time. I would have still, at that point, figured the Bills would have drove and won that game.
I agree.
We talked at the top of the 4 o'clock hour about the Chiefs and the value of just not screwing up, not making the big mistake, not turning the ball over a bunch of times, not getting play clock stuff wrong, not having 12 men on the field on defense on a 4th down inside the 5 like the Lions did. Like, stuff like that does not happen to the Chiefs. The Chiefs don't let stuff like that happen. They're too prepared.
Andy Reid's their head coach.
They're too prepared. They're too well coached. Absolutely. The Bills are a fascinating matchup for the Chiefs in that regard because they have been the team this year that does not screw up and benefits from their opponents screwing up. They have learned to thrive on the mistakes of their opponent, including the playoffs. The Bills have 8 turnovers this season, and they have forced, after forcing 3 on Sunday night, 35 turnovers. They're plus 27 in the turnover margin. That is remarkable. I think it also bears noting they were plus 3 in the turnover margin and still only won that game by 2 points at home. Like, they need to dominate those margins. And if they do not dominate those margins, well, we'll see how things go for them coming up potentially on Sunday. But that's why I think it's such an interesting matchup. Honestly, I think man for man still, I said this on Friday, I still believe it after that game. Man for man, I think Baltimore is the better team. But Baltimore is more apt to make the big mistake. And they made the big mistakes that cost them that football game.
Which team is better coached?
Oh.
I will tell you, fans of the Ravens say Sean McDermott, because I know personally a fan of the Ravens this morning that tweeted, "Why doesn't John Harbaugh go become a grandpa and leave the coaching ranks?"
It's just so much like the Pittsburgh situation, right? Now Baltimore has the quarterback. That's not the problem they have in Pittsburgh, but Harbaugh's been there forever, has the Super Bowl, is always going to have a baseline level of competence to greatness. But hey, John, it's been a while. Like, when are we going to break back through that glass ceiling? And I think it's worth questioning. But like, I don't think Sean McDermott is a genius. I think he's a good coach.
Don't think he's a great game manager. And go back to that Rams game that they lost earlier this year, where they totally screwed up the timeout situation at the end. Like, he'll get that stuff wrong more than I think John Harbaugh will.
And you mentioned earlier today that Lamar Jackson didn't get any designed runs. I don't think there were nearly enough for Josh Allen in non-dive situations, in non-goal line, non-short yardage. I don't think they ran Josh Allen enough. Now, maybe part of that was they were so confident in the second half they were going to win. They're trying to save the beating for this week against the Chiefs. I don't know. I'm not in that meeting.
I think you take quite a bit of beating in those quarterback sneak situations.
Well, that's also true.
Especially in the cold. Like, that was something Matt Verderame pointed that out when we talked to him last week. Like, the Chiefs game was markedly less physical than Bills-Ravens. Yeah. And the Bills-Ravens winner has a day less to rest and refresh and prepare for the AFC Championship game.
I thought the Bills, though, overall had a pretty good game plan. I don't really blame them for being a little bit more conservative in that game. But if I'm them, I hope I'm willing to take the training wheels off and go crazy against the Chiefs. Because the Chiefs are going to have a great game plan.
Yes.
Of course they are.
100%. The NFC games, Rams-Eagles. The Eagles live by the big play more than any other team in the league. They are a team that lives by the big play. And
I was right. I know you're not disagreeing with that, but I was right, and I feel good about that.
Saquon Barkley, 2 long runs. Eagles.
Jalen Hurts had the long run.
Hurts had the long run to open the scoring. Defensively, they had the big fumble return that set up points. Forced 2 big turnovers in the second half. Rams were valiant. I think that they had an opportunity to go win that game. They got a lot closer than I thought they were going to, frankly. It turned out that, we know that Saquon Barkley is capable of, sliding down and not scoring a touchdown when it doesn't benefit his team. Maybe he should have done that instead of running for all those yards he ran for on that last touchdown, making a 13-point game. That almost proved costly. But the Eagles are going to feast or famine based on the big play and whether or not they get it on offense, because they don't have a lot of those like 15 play, not as many as you'd think with how good they are at running the ball. They don't have a ton of those like 15 play drives. They really feast on long runs by Barkley, long passes to Smith or Brown, long runs by Hurts. Like, that's their whole thing.
So Jalen Hurts got injured in the game. That was kind of coy during his post-game interview with Melissa Stark about how badly he was actually hurt. And I think that the injury is going to cover up for the fact that 2 weeks in a row, Jalen Hurts has really sucked.
Yeah.
He is not playing well. And granted,
120 yards in the air.
It's hard to come back from a concussion. It is difficult to do that. And he missed some time. He's been bad. Downright bad, and he was really bad this week, and he was bad for about 3 quarters against Green Bay last week as well. That is my number one worry if I'm Philadelphia. I know the offensive line is going to protect. I know Saquon is going to be able to run. I know usually Brown didn't have a great game this weekend, but generally speaking, A.J. Brown's going to get his. Devontae Smith's really good. Dallas Goedert's really good. I'm not worried, and my defense is great. My defense is really, really good. I am worried that my quarterback has played probably his 2 worst games of the year back-to-back weeks.
No.
Off of a concussion, and now may have a knee injury.
It's a major concern, and I'm sure
he said he was fine.
Washington.
I'm sure he said he was fine.
I'm
he
sure
probably also was high on Toradol.
That Washington's focus will be trying to put as much of the game in Hurts's hands as possible. That being said, that's a lot easier said than done when the other running back is the other team's running back is as good as Saquon Barkley is, and the other team's offensive line is as good as Philadelphia's is. They can do what they do because they're so good at those spots.
I was listening to a podcast earlier today when they were talking about Saquon, and like Barkley has always been a good to great player, but he would not be this good had he stayed and gotten a new contract in New York.
No.
And that's definitely true. But if I'm a Giants fan, all that tells me is my team sucked at helping out our best player. Like, we drafted him in, 2018? I think it was 2018 because it was Mayfield, then Saquon, then Sam Darnold, who got drafted all in a row. And we went all that time and we never got this dude help. We never built a line to help our star running back out. I'd be so mad at Joe Shane. But otherwise, I give the Rams credit. I'm not surprised they fought to the very end. I mean, Stafford's been really good for the most part this year. He wasn't great, but he was fine. Cooper Kupp pretty much fallen off a cliff mid-season, harmed them, I think. They probably need to find his replacement this offseason, whether it's a draft pick or they go out and add someone in free agency. That was tough for them because they just ran out of playmakers, and Kyron Williams having a couple fumbles. Not great.
Yeah. Commanders, Lions, we might look back in this one in retrospect and say, well, the team with the better quarterback won the game. And the team with the better quarterback playing against a defense full of gym teachers and fitness trainers and NPCs winning the game. Like, when you break it down like that, this doesn't feel shocking at all. But as good as the Lions were all season long, the year they had coming off of what they did last season, the fact that it was a rookie quarterback on the road, the fact that the spread was what it was, I can only think of 2 games in the divisional round in my lifetime that were a bigger shock than the Commanders winning that game. Jaguars beating Denver in 1996, and the 15-win Packers losing to the Giants in 2011.
Yeah.
Those are the only divisional round games that I would rate as being similar or bigger surprises than the Commanders winning that game. And the fact that it doesn't feel like an accident in retrospect, yes, that's part of it is Goff was terrible. And part of it is the Lions are running out guys who are going pro in something other than sports as soon as this season is over because they just ran out of bodies. But the bigger thing, the long-term takeaway from this, Jaden Daniels ain't scared.
No, dude's awesome. Spencer, I'll let you have the floor, but no, the dude is phenomenal, and he is so calm every single play.
He doesn't get rattled.
Yeah,
he is like a 10-year vet going into a playoff game. I have never seen anything like it, and I think when you have the running game getting back going, that's huge for them because I didn't think that Jaden Daniels could do it with his arm and his legs and be the only guy that was running the ball in this game. Because their running game's been non-existent for the past few weeks.
Yeah, your guy Brian Robinson got going.
And B-Rob had 2 touchdowns on the ground. Jeremy McNichols ran into one from, like the 1-yard line. And Eckler averaged 7.8 a pop. And you can't have, you can take Jaden Daniels, or you can take the running game away and take Jaden Daniels away, but you can't take it away when 3 guys are running the ball at a pretty high clip.
The throw to De'Ami Brown that set up a touchdown.
The one where illegal hands to the face should have been called. He couldn't see the ball.
Yeah, I guess he did. Now that I'm thinking about it and playing it over,
it was a heck of a catch.
Yeah, that throw, the audacity to even make the throw in the first place is.
I mean, it reminds me of that throw that he made to Terry against Cincinnati on Sunday night.
Yes, this is the audacity to make the throws that he makes, the confidence to make the throws that he makes, the confidence in his own ability. He's one of them ones, man. He's really special. And
he's been great.
Shout out to Michigan alum Mikey Sanderstill for 2 picks and Quan Martin for the interception for a touchdown.
I know you've watched a lot of Mikey Sanderstill, being a adjacent Michigan fan, but yeah, he's a great player too.
Big game player, had the pick in the national title game last year.
I said Jeremy Chin sealing it for them.
I said the other day, Dan Quinn gets, a deserved rap because of 28-3, but he was a better coach than his like legacy in Atlanta would make you think. I mean, he led them to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
This is the Atlanta Falcons,
Right.
remember, right? I think Dan Quinn is a good coach. I don't know that he's a great coach, but I think he's a good coach. I give him a lot of respect for not feeling the heat at all. You don't want to talk about calm. Dan Quinn felt like that was probably the best game he's ever coached.
Teams take on the personalities of their head coach. And now the Commanders go into an NFC Championship game where, again, they will have the better quarterback.
You know who also needs to get a little shout out here? Jayhawks alum Dorrance Armstrong.
He came up with some big
strip
plays.
sacks.
Absolutely.
He's a baller.
Now, this is
Thank God there was no portal when he was in school.
This is my favorite footnote from the Commanders win, their first NFC title game since 1991, which means the team with the longest drought of reaching the NFC Championship game is the Dallas Cowboys. That is so funny. I can't believe it. Let's take a timeout. We'll come back with more 580 Sports Talk.
America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
WIBW, Topeka.
National championship game tonight in college football, Ohio State, Notre Dame. A path for Notre Dame to win this game, but it involves Ohio State playing terribly. Like, Notre Dame's defense is good.
Yeah.
They don't have the dudes Ohio State has. And Notre Dame absolutely doesn't have enough dudes on offense. Like, I think this is going to get ugly. I think it's going to get really ugly, and we're going to get to a conclusion that is kind of inevitable in college football. It was inevitable when we had the 14 playoff, and it's just as inevitable now that we've expanded the playoff. There are really only like 3 schools that can win this thing every year. There are really only like a dozen schools that can ever win this thing. You've got an expanded playoff, and that's great. But, like, look at all of the other divisions with expanded playoffs. Their dynasties abound. This is not exactly the harbinger of parity that so many people, I think, imagined it to be when they advocated for it for so long. And, oh, man, we're going to get great games. We're going to get more football. Or the little guy's going to have a chance. No, the little guy doesn't have a chance. Your best chance, if you were Kansas State, if you were I don't know. Like if you were Auburn, and they actually did cash one in and win a national championship. If you were a school like that, your best chance was in the BCS era because you could win all your games, and if somebody else lost, you were going to get ranked above them. As long as you won all your games, you were going to have a chance at the end of the year to be one of the two teams that got put in the BCS championship game. And then you get one game and anything can happen. That's not how this system is going to work. This system is going to keep churning out Ohio State and Georgia and Alabama and Georgia, Alabama and Ohio State and LSU and maybe Michigan or USC in a freak year or Texas. But that's what we've got. That's what we've got. Your best chance, if you were a Kansas State fan, you wanted to see your team win a national championship, your best shot was the BCS. And Kansas fans, same thing. Zoo fans, same thing. If you're a fan of one of the hundreds of other Division I teams that is not a team that's already won one of these, you're never going to win one of these. Sorry.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm going to be completely honest with you. If you thought that the SEC and Big Ten arguing for this and saying, but the little guys will have a better chance, and you actually believe them, I don't really think you're all that bright.
Yeah.
Like, come on. You always don't shoot the messenger except when you probably should shoot the messenger. And if the messenger is all the people who have all the power and they're telling you, no, but actually you're going to have a chance. I mean, like that's your fault if you actually think that. Of course this was the outcome because this is what those conferences wanted.
Good take from Mark B in the YouTube live chat. I won't watch any of it. They both can't lose. I know how you feel, Mark. I think a lot of America knows how you feel when it comes to Ohio State versus Notre Dame. We'll take a break.
Now, I was going to say, I am on the flip side real quick. I moved a TV to a warmer room of my house to make sure I could watch this game tonight. I mean, I'm excited for the game, but it's just, we're going to get more of this, more Ohio State.
Take a final break, but real quick, a word from my friends at Great Life here in Topeka. 8 outstanding fitness facilities, 5 great golf courses, and finally starting to see some of that snow melt. Well, not right now. It's frigid cold, but when that snow melts, those golf courses are going to be in awesome shape. Can't wait to get out there as soon as I can and play with my all-inclusive membership. Discover all of the membership benefits, all of the things Great Life has to offer at greatlifetopeka.com. Back for the final word after this.
Rooted in communities nationwide, Easter Seals helps empower millions of people, regardless of age or disability, through its life-changing services and powerful advocacy. Today and every day, Easter Seals is leading the way to full equity, inclusion, and access to healthcare, employment, and education for people with disabilities, families, and communities. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Learn more and get involved at EasterSeals.com.
WIBW Topeka.
In conclusion,
We are wrapping up and walking off this edition of 580 Sports Talk on this Monday afternoon with our condolences, our thoughts, and our prayers to the family and friends of Bill Griffin, founder of TopSports.news and longtime local radio voice, who passed away this morning at the age of 69. He'd been fighting esophageal cancer for the past 10 months. We have gotten to know Bill over the years as somebody who has broadcast high school athletics in this Topeka area and who founded TopSports.news back in 2021. Our good friend Rick Peterson, of course, the front-facing writer for TopSports.news. But Bill Griffin did a ton for local athletics in Shawnee County and in the city of Topeka. And his loss will be felt by everyone who cares about those athletics in this place. So, again, our deepest sympathies and our condolences to the family and the friends and everyone who knew Bill Griffin, who passed away this morning.
He did a lot for local athletes for a long time. Former KU athlete. He's a Kansas guy, Kansas City area is where he was raised. And it'll be very different to see, to not see Bill, I should say, on the other side of a table or in a different booth at a high school football game going forward. I know this was a tough battle. So, Dan, you're right. Best wishes, prayers, condolences go to Bill's family and all who knew him. He was a local institution without question.
100%. And again, so sorry to hear that news that Bill Griffin passed away this morning. We will have 580 Sports Talk coming your way from 3 to 6 tomorrow. Hope you will join us for that. Chiefs Kingdom show's next, followed by the Jeff Mitty Show. Until tomorrow, for Spencer and Brendan, I'm Dan. This was 580 Sports Talk. Good night.